In Season 2, Episode 1, we see Lloyd standing high above the clouds, locked in battle. He quickly realizes his opponent is incredibly strong, so he calls out to Grim for his sword. Grim tosses it to him, and Lloyd uses it to block a devastating attack. The angel keeps pressing him with relentless strikes, but Lloyd, thrilled by the challenge, dodges each one with excitement. He's not scared, he's exhilarated because his opponent is powerful. Yes, his enemy this time is an angel. After blocking a series of strikes, Lloyd gets ready to counterattack. He tosses the sword back to Grim, and then channels Tal's key technique. Using it, he manages to block even more incoming attacks. But it's not enough. Some of the strikes slip through, leaving him wounded. Instead of despairing, Lloyd smiles. He's even more excited now. Then, just like in the last season, he unleashes that dangerous magic again, launching it directly at the angel. A massive explosion erupts, but when the smoke clears, the angel stands unharmed. Calmly, he looks at Lloyd and says, "You can't lay a finger on me. Even if you begged, I wouldn't spare you, devil child." Lloyd simply grins and replies, "That works for me." We then realize this clash is just a glimpse of a future battle. The story now rewinds to show us how Lloyd even reached the skies in the first place. It begins with Rain, who has become Lloyd's maid. Nervously, she enters his room one morning to tell him breakfast is ready, only to find Grim and Shiro there, but no Lloyd. She starts looking around, and suddenly Lloyd slips right out of the wall, greeting her with a cheerful, "Good morning." Startled, Rain gasps. Lloyd proudly explains, "Look, I can hide my presence really well now. That mana block technique you taught me, it's amazing." Rain blushes, admitting it took her years to master, while Lloyd learned it in no time. Embarrassed but impressed, she blurts out, "Lloyd, you're incredible." Then she quickly corrects herself. "I mean, Master, you're incredible." Lloyd chuckles, asking why she sounds so hesitant. "Haven't you gotten used to working here yet?" "It's been a while." Rain insists, "Not long enough. Silpha's been teaching me a lot. She's strict but cool. Learning all these manners and etiquette is hard, but I'll do my best to become the perfect servant for you." Lloyd smiles and tells her she doesn't have to call him Master. Rain lights up, about to just call him Lloyd, when Silpha suddenly steps in. Sternly, she reminds Rain, "You must address him as Master." Flustered, Rain apologizes, promising to remember. Watching her get scolded, Lloyd sighs. Rain really has it rough. Grim adds, "Not just her. Everyone's probably busy." Lloyd agrees. The scene shifts to the ruined castle from last season, the one devastated during Lloyd's fight with Geese's army. His attacks had left behind a massive crater, but Galilea repaired it with her webs. Lloyd bounces around happily as we learn Galilea has even become the governor of this place. Galilea admits he thought Prince Lloyd himself would take the role, but Lloyd explains, "My father gave me the freedom to choose, and since I needed this place fixed up for my research, I made you the governor." Just then, Babylon shows up, pointing out how much damage Demos caused and how long repairs will take. Galilea vows, "If this place is mine, I won't let it fall again. But if only we had a way to protect ourselves." Grim cuts in, suggesting, "If you want a demonic opinion, I'd recommend divine sorcery." Everyone freezes. "Wait, are you a demon?" He smirks. "Of course. What did you think?" He explains divine sorcery, magic only church devotees can wield. It's like channeling God's power into your body to drive away evil. The others protest, saying they've never believed in God or the church. Grim shrugs. "Well then, it's time you join." He looks at Lloyd. "Ready?" Lloyd stiffens nervously. "Maybe, another day." His reaction confuses everyone, until Lloyd admits, "I was expelled from the church 2 years ago. It was my mistake, but maybe they've forgotten by now." Galilea orders Babylon to accompany him. Lloyd agrees. If joining the church is the key to learning divine sorcery, then he'll do it. The group heads to the church, Rain tagging along. Lloyd gently tells her she didn't need to come. She blushes, saying Silpha was busy anyway, and besides, she wanted to spend time with him. Embarrassed, she grabs onto Shiro. Babylon reminds Lloyd of their plan. "We serve the church, gain their trust, and then we'll be granted divine sorcery as a blessing." Lloyd nods. "That's right. If you do tasks like fundraising, cleaning, studying scriptures, and praying for long enough, angels themselves bestow divine sorcery." Babylon sighs. "Sounds like a lot of work." Inside, Lloyd greets the father politely. At first, the father smiles warmly, But then recognition strikes. His expression hardens. Lloyd, what are you doing here? 2 years ago, you unleashed hell inside this church. I'll never forget that. Get out. Babylon is stunned. What exactly had Lloyd done back then? Just then, Sister Isher appears. She calmly tells the father, that was long ago. Let it go. The father shakes his head. You're too soft, always forgiving matters too easily. But Isher reminds him, didn't you say yourself that people make mistakes? But they can repent? If they apologize, God forgives them too, right? And Lloyd doesn't look like he's holding on to anger. The father insists, but I am. I'm still angry at him. Lloyd nervously pushes Shiro forward. The little wolf stares at the priest with big, loving eyes. The father melts instantly. Reluctantly, he says, fine, I won't let you fully return, but I'll give you a chance to make amends. He hands them church robes. In the next scene, Lloyd is put to work cleaning. Quickly bored, he clumsily knocks over a vase, shattering it. Embarrassed, he starts to leave, but Sister Isher steps in, picking up the pieces. Where are you going? She asks gently. Lloyd apologizes for making a mess. She smiles. It's fine. It was an accident. You're not hurt, are you? When he says no, she replies, good, I'm glad. But then, noticing the vase more closely, she frowns. Wait, this is Father's favorite vase. Lloyd freezes, panicked. Isher gently told Lloyd not to worry. She promised she would apologize to the father on his behalf. But Lloyd shook his head. No, I'll apologize to him myself. With that, he picked up the broken vase and went to throw it away. Watching him, Rain frowned. What's gotten into Lloyd? He's acting kind of strange. Isher simply smiled. I don't think so. He's always been like this. A good boy. Curious, Rain asked. Then how was Lloyd when he was younger? Isher explained. Honestly, he hasn't changed at all. He's always loved magic so much that nothing else could catch his interest. And now he's joined the church to learn divine sorcery, hasn't he? Hearing that, Rain and Babylon panicked. They quickly lied, saying they didn't know what she meant. But Isher could see through them. She sighed softly. Yes, Lloyd hasn't changed. He used to break plenty of vases back then too. We were then shown a scene from the past. A young Lloyd had knocked over another vase, and Isher rushed in, asking if he was all right. When Lloyd said yes, she looked relieved. Surprised, Lloyd asked why she wasn't angry. Isher admitted, I should be. Then she told him, you're a bad boy. Lloyd tilted his head and said, that's not how you get angry. If you really want, use divine sorcery and strike me down. But Isher shook her head. I can't. Divine sorcery should only be used against evil people. Forget that. Why don't we sing together instead? Lloyd ignored her suggestion and walked away. In the next scene, we saw the real reason behind Lloyd's expulsion. At the church, he had accidentally unsealed a demon. Chaos broke out as the demon attacked, and people fled in fear. But Isher, worried, searched for Lloyd. She found him hiding in the corner. Just as the demon hurled a chair at him, Isher jumped in front and shielded him, taking the hit herself. Injured but calm, she asked Lloyd if he was okay. He said yes, and once again she smiled in relief. This time, however, guilt weighed heavily on Lloyd. He confessed to everyone that the disaster had been his fault. Because of that, the church cast him out. Hearing the full truth, Rain and Babylon finally understood what had happened. Isher explained further, the father is angry with Lloyd because he's broken so many vases, and others resent him for unsealing the demon. But I don't hate him. His voice, it was always so sweet. I only hope someday he'll sing with us again. With that thought, an idea struck her. She decided to invite Lloyd to join them. Smiling, she told the others, there's a recital happening today. Saria will be performing as well. The group looked confused. Who's Saria? Meanwhile, we saw Lloyd tossing the broken vase in the trash. That's when he spotted a group of men yelling at a young girl. She had accidentally bumped into them, and now they were ganging up on her. Lloyd recognized her instantly. That's my sister, Saria. Saria didn't argue with them, which only made the men angrier. Then she calmly asked, do any of you know how to play an instrument? They admitted they didn't. Disappointed, she turned to leave, but they grabbed her arm again. Back with the others, Lloyd explained. That's Saria, my older sister, the fourth princess. She has an incredible talent for music. She's mastered every instrument and has no interest in anything else. One of the men sneered at Saria. I'm good at one instrument. Curious, Saria asked, which one? He smirked. The kind that makes girls scream. Just as he was about to harass her, Isher stepped in. Stop. Saria is my friend, not an instrument for your amusement. Angry, the man grabbed Isher instead. At that moment, the father appeared and announced, "The recital is about to begin. Who will sing?" Lloyd asked when it would start. Babylon replied, "Very soon. Isher and Saria will be the ones singing. They say anyone who hears their song will be healed." Lloyd nodded in understanding. "So that's why Saria came here." Grimm added, "What if divine sorcery only manifests during the recital, when the singing begins?" Lloyd thought it over. "That makes sense. If the song itself heals people, then maybe that's when divine sorcery appears. I can't let this recital be interrupted." He then ordered Rain to act. Rain focused her mana and cast her ability. To their surprise, she didn't put Lloyd and the others to sleep, only the father and the men standing nearby. Grimm was impressed. "She didn't affect us at all. That means she finally learned to control her power." Lloyd nodded. "She used mana focus. It strengthens your pressure and sharpens your target. But it takes a lot of training." Then through the bond between them, he told her silently, "You did well, Rain." But just then the thugs began to stir, waking up again. Rain panicked. "I couldn't put them down completely." Babylon was about to step forward to fight, but Lloyd stopped him. "If we knock them out again, the father will notice. And if he finds out, we'll be in real trouble. Instead, I'll send them somewhere else." Lloyd cast teleportation, and in an instant, the men vanished, reappearing high in the mountains far away. The others, stunned, stared at him. Lloyd frowned. "I still have so much to learn. I don't even know exactly where I sent them." Later, when the father awoke, Lloyd quickly explained that Babylon had chased the men away. Babylon, still trembling, said nothing. Deep down, he was terrified by Lloyd's power. Somehow, Lloyd had already mastered Jake's teleportation technique. How did he learn it this fast? Babylon thought in disbelief. Rain, too, was left amazed. The father accepted their words and walked away. Then Saria returned, her eyes fixed on Lloyd. Slowly, she remembered his name. Babylon teased, "You forgot your own brother's name." But Isher smiled, saying, "It's actually impressive. Saria only remembers the names of those involved in music. If she remembered Lloyd, it means he must have touched her through music somehow." Rain asked in surprise, "So Lloyd can play instruments too?" Isher shook her head. "No, but he has a beautiful singing voice." Remembering that, she turned to Lloyd. "Would you like to sing with us at the recital?" Before Lloyd could answer, Saria stepped in firmly. "No, he hasn't practiced enough. I don't want him ruining our performance. Once I've trained him properly, he can sing with us. For now, he should just watch and learn." With that, she left. Afterward, Rain suggested they explore the church, but Lloyd shook his head. "No, I need to observe the recital." Grimm agreed. "Yes, divine sorcery may only appear during the ritual, not through mana signatures." Lloyd began explaining. "You can create all kinds of phenomena using mana signatures, but those with mana can also use dance or song to perform magic." Just then, Lloyd and Babylon both sensed something unusual, but they ignored it, not realizing what was coming next. The recital finally began. Saria sat at the piano, her fingers dancing gracefully across the keys, while Isher lifted her voice in song. Together, their music created a harmony so pure and beautiful that everyone in the room was left in awe. Lloyd watched quietly, then murmured to himself, "So this is the magic that heals people. It's incredible." Around him, the crowd began to glow with renewed strength as wounds closed and fatigue faded away. Grimm's eyes widened. "Look at that! This really is divine sorcery." At the same time, Lloyd drew his sword and sliced through a fragment of the mana floating in the air. The fragment clung to his blade, and he examined it carefully. "What kind of mana signature is this? It looks like some kind of geometric shape. I've never seen anything like it before. And its effect, it's like a health class spell. Within 10 meters, everyone is being healed," Grimm pointed out. "But Isher's mana feels a little weak." Lloyd nodded calmly. "That doesn't matter. It's exactly as we expected. Isher really can use divine sorcery. That means the messengers of God acknowledge her. This signature, it's completely unknown. It doesn't belong to any language we can read. That makes it even more fascinating." Grimm leaned toward him. "Don't you want to learn it yourself?" Lloyd shook his head. "Later. Right now, I sense something far more powerful, watching us." Ever since the recital started, its gaze has only grown stronger. Grimm focused and felt it too. His face tensed. "You're right. This pressure, it's terrifying. Whose presence is this? And where is it coming from?" Lloyd looked upward. "From above." Grim followed his gaze, unsettled. Do you mean someone is watching us from the ceiling? Lloyd's voice was firm. No, from even higher. Someone beyond us. It feels like a servant of God. Determined, Lloyd prepared to leave. He turned to Rain and Babylon. I'll be back soon. Then in a flash, he teleported far above. The world shifted. He and Grim now stood among endless clouds, nothing else in sight. Grim glanced around nervously. Don't tell me we're dead. Did we die just now? Lloyd shook his head. No. The last time I died, it didn't feel anything like this. They pressed forward through the mist, and soon a structure came into view, rising from the clouds. At its peak sat a figure, a radiant angel. Lloyd narrowed his eyes. So this is the one who's been watching us. In the last episode, we saw Lloyd teleport up above the clouds, where he found an angel simply watching something. Lloyd wondered what the angel was looking at, and then he realized the angel was listening to Surya and Isher's song. After hearing their music, the angel became strangely enamored. He admitted how incredible they were and even said he wished he could go see them and kiss them. When the angel acted all flirtatious like that, Lloyd tossed a chunk of cloud at him. That made the angel furious. He demanded, "Who is foolish enough to throw clouds at me?" Then he noticed Lloyd and was shocked. He asked why a human would be here, since this place was supposed to be heaven. The angel introduced himself as Gariel and said he was the assistant to the 64 gods. He asked how they even made it here, since a barrier separated this place from the human world. Lloyd had actually teleported so fast that he broke through the barrier, but he did not remember that. Lloyd begged Jeriel to teach him divine sorcery. Jeriel, full of himself, replied that he was far too beautiful and that seeing him must have scrambled Lloyd's mind. He even offered to have Lloyd kiss his feet. Grim grew angry and cut in, telling Jeriel to stop the nonsense and to teach Lloyd the divine sorcery. Otherwise, Grim warned he and the others would go back to Earth and expose how lecherous Jeriel was. Jeriel just laughed and said nobody would believe them, then booted Grim aside and started listening to Surya and Isher's song again. He told Lloyd to leave, but Lloyd refused. Jeriel activated his Lux ability, summoning huge swords, and ordered Lloyd to go. The swords attacked, but Lloyd had already put up a barrier and avoided the blows. Jeriel grew serious and said, "Ah, so you are not an ordinary child." Meanwhile, Rain grew worried and asked where Lloyd had gone. Babylon told her to calm down and asked if Lloyd had said anything before he left. Rain remembered Lloyd saying someone was watching them, which Babylon had sensed as well, though he had not realized anyone was actually observing them. Babylon apologized and stepped outside, following a scent he could not place. Back with Lloyd, he was fighting the Lux swords and thrilled. This was divine sorcery. At first, the swords looked feather-like, but they were heavy and hard like iron. Lloyd tried to use his spells to absorb Jeriel's power, but he could not because Jeriel's attack had no physical form. Lloyd handed his sword to Grim and explained that Jeriel was creating the Lux swords purely with mana. He wanted to test how durable the swords were, so he launched an attack combining 4 different elements at once. Jeriel was shocked and dodged, but the attack hit Lloyd's barrier and shattered it. Jeriel panicked. Lloyd moved behind a nearby building and explained that if Jeriel kept dodging, Lloyd would never be able to test the swords properly. Jeriel insisted he could never be hit because he was invincible. Lloyd then used an extremely dangerous spell, the Shadow Wolf spell from the Gus army, and teleported it straight at Jeriel. Attacks came at Jeriel from every direction. He barely managed to dodge, but Lloyd's Shadow Wolf assault was terrifying. Jeriel warned Lloyd that he was getting reckless and that he might die if he kept it up, but Lloyd replied that Jeriel himself had claimed to be invincible, and that would not be enough to stop him. Grim expressed concern and asked Lloyd to calm down, but Lloyd explained that when he used this spell, he left openings. He became vulnerable. Grim reassured Jeriel that Lloyd would not misuse Z's power. Jeriel bristled and ran, saying that Lloyd would never defeat him. Lloyd decided to give Jeriel an opening on purpose and prepared another dangerous spell. As Lloyd readied his powerful move, he left himself wide open and went fully defensive. Jeriel rushed in to attack, and Lloyd seized the opportunity to activate his spell, hitting Jeriel directly. The blow inflicted severe damage. Grim urged Jeriel to apologize quietly, but Jeriel refused to give up. He claimed his swords were infinite and that he could even repair them. Lloyd grew curious. He wanted to know whether those swords truly regenerated infinitely. He attacked again with several powerful spells at once. Jeriel panicked and finally admitted he had been lying. He pleaded, "Do not do this. I was only bluffing." Lloyd did not listen and unleashed multiple spells in a single strike. The explosion of magic knocked Jeriel to the ground. Lloyd wondered why the swords had become transparent. Grimm explained that Jeriel had simply run out of mana. Lloyd concluded that the swords were neither invincible nor infinite. They were just a mana-formed shape that became steel-like. As long as someone had mana, they could use those swords. Jeriel, realizing he was dying, admitted Lloyd had fought well, but he taunted that Lloyd would never learn divine sorcery because Jeriel would die. Then, unexpectedly, Lloyd transferred a large amount of his own mana into Jeriel, reviving him. Jeriel gasped, "Why are you saving me? I tried to kill you." Lloyd calmly said, "That doesn't matter to me. All I want is to learn divine sorcery." With the massive amount of mana Lloyd had just given him, Jeriel's body swelled noticeably. In his mind, the angel thought, "This kid is so innocent. He actually saved my life. Fine, I'll use him now." Out loud, he smiled and said, "All right then, I'll grant you divine sorcery. But if you want this gift, you first need to make a pact with me. Only then can I share divine sorcery with you. Give me your hand." Lloyd reached out without hesitation. Jeriel grabbed his hand and smirked inwardly. "This fight isn't over, boy. I'll use this pact as a trick. Possess your body, and then I'll be free to enjoy myself on Earth with my favorite women." His twisted plan was written all over his grin, and both Lloyd and Grimm noticed. Jeriel chuckled darkly, telling Lloyd, "Consider yourself lucky. I'm going to make great use of your body." With that, he tried to slip inside Lloyd's body. He laughed triumphantly. "See? I've done it. This body is mine." But the next moment, he froze in shock. He hadn't taken control of Lloyd at all. He was trapped only in Lloyd's hand. Grimm burst out laughing. "You really are a fool of an angel. Didn't you know? Lloyd's mana is so vast that your body's strength amounts to no more than what fits in his hand." Lloyd, unfazed, asked, "So is the pact complete?" "Yes," Jeriel admitted reluctantly. "To use divine sorcery, an angel needs to leave a mana signature on the soul of the caster. That creates the connection. Normally, you'd need to sing or use other rituals to form the pathway. But since I'm already inside your body, the pact is complete. Now you can summon divine sorcery straight from your soul." Hearing this, Lloyd closed his eyes and drew deeply from his spirit, pulling forth divine sorcery for the first time. He focused intensely, his expression tightening. Grimm asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" Lloyd opened his eyes and nodded. "Yes, I'm fine. I was just concentrating. Divine sorcery really is powerful." Grimm, meanwhile, thought to himself, "This angel has no idea. Now that Prince Lloyd has mastered divine sorcery, he holds enough power to command both heaven and hell. If he wanted, he could even sit on the Demon Lord's throne." Then Lloyd sighed. "Honestly, learning divine sorcery a little disappointing. It was too easy." "Disappointing?" Jeriel asked, confused. "Not in that way," Lloyd replied. "I don't care much about results. I enjoy the process. I like the struggle it takes to earn power. I've read countless spell books, asking myself how each magic works, how it's cast, and when I finally master it, I can imagine the faces of the original users. That's what makes it worthwhile, the effort. That's what excites me." Changing the subject, Lloyd asked, "By the way, those Lux swords you were using, those were divine sorcery too, right?" "Yes," Jeriel said, "but divine sorcery manifests differently for each user. Your form will be unique to you. Try creating a sword." Lloyd reached out and summoned a blade through divine sorcery. Jeriel's eyes widened. Lloyd's magic felt incredibly pure, gentle, almost angelic. It reminded him of someone he had once deeply respected long ago. But then the sword kept growing larger and more menacing, far beyond what he expected. The weapon became enormous, towering over Lloyd. Compared to his body, the sword looked impossibly huge, and it was still expanding. Both Jeriel and Grimm trembled at the sight. Grimm shouted, "Stop! What are you doing? End this now!" But Lloyd calmly answered, "It's not finished yet. The sword isn't complete." Stunned, Jeriel explained, "This Lux power, it takes form depending on the caster's mana. And this sword, it's becoming something far more dangerous than anything I've ever seen." Meanwhile, outside, Babylon had gone off to investigate. The voices from the recital carried faintly through the air, but he was more focused on a strange scent. "What's being hidden here? They planted all these flowers to mask the smell. I need to find out what's going on. As he stepped further, a sinister-looking man suddenly appeared beside him. Lost your way? The man asked coldly. Babylon stiffened but kept his composure. The stranger added, This church is big. No wonder you're lost. Come, I'll take you back to the recital. No, Babylon replied. I was just admiring the roses. I hope that's not a problem. The man gave him a sharp look. What a waste of time. You came here to hear the recital's music, didn't you? And instead, you're missing it. Babylon countered. Forget me. What about you? What are you doing here? The man smiled faintly. I'm a priest. A priest's duty is to guide the lost back to the right path. I've worked here for many years, but even I sometimes lose my way. Babylon's eyes narrowed. If you're a priest, then why aren't you wearing your rosary? A rosary necklace proves you're part of the church. I'm new here, and even I've been given one. I've heard priests must wear it at all times, but you aren't. The man faltered, then quickly pulled a rosary from his pocket. Forgive me, I know it's wrong, but sometimes I forget to wear it. He slipped it on and then leaned toward Babylon menacingly. Take me as an example. If you join this church, never break the rules. This garden is sacred. You shouldn't be wandering here. Babylon bowed slightly. I'm sorry, I'm new. I didn't know. At that moment, Rain arrived with Shiro, looking for Babylon. But the instant Shiro laid eyes on the man, he froze in fear. He could sense a dark, evil presence radiating from him. Babylon, unfazed, remarked, You know, you're quite interesting. You say you've been with the church for years, but that rosary you're wearing looks brand new. It's so polished, it's obvious you don't wear it daily. With that, Babylon turned to leave. He had deliberately pointed it out to confirm what he already suspected, that this man was lying. He wasn't a priest, or at the very least, not a faithful one. The man's smile faded. His eyes darkened as he growled, So you're suspicious of me too? Looks like I'll have to deal with you. His aura flared with anger, as if he was about to attack. But just then, Lloyd suddenly teleported into the garden, stunning everyone. What are you all doing out here? Is the recital over already? He asked. Then without even looking twice at the stranger, Lloyd casually walked right past him. The sinister man glared but did nothing. Lloyd doesn't react either. Instead, he just goes over and starts playing with Shiro. After that, everyone begins heading out. But then Jeriel suddenly spots that man again and recognizes him. He realizes it's the same person he once respected a long time ago. Seeing him there leaves Jeriel completely stunned. Soon, Lloyd and the others head back inside the church, where Isha and Saria eagerly ask him how he liked their performance. Lloyd smiles and says it was great, that he watched it from start to finish. Of course, he's lying. Still, Jeriel gets even more shocked when he sees Saria and Isha up close, and he becomes desperate to meet them, but Lloyd closes his hand tightly, keeping him from coming out. Meanwhile, Babylon is still suspicious. He asks Isha whether the garden outside is considered a sacred place. She nods and explains that they use the flowers there to bring peace to people's souls, offering them as tributes. Hearing this, Babylon mutters that the rotten smell he noticed earlier makes more sense now, but he still wonders what exactly it was. Maybe it was all just in his head. On the other hand, Lloyd turns to the father and says, By the way, I'm leaving the church today. The father is stunned. What? But you only joined this morning, he replies. Seeing Lloyd stay calm, Babylon adds, I think Lloyd found what he was looking for. My part here is done, and I don't want anything to do with the rest of what's going on. He then starts to walk away. Just then, Isha approaches him. Earlier this afternoon, you saved me. I never got the chance to thank you, so thank you for protecting me, she says. Babylon is taken aback. Inside, he thinks, if she keeps this up, I might have no choice but to help the church. The scene shifts back to that mysterious man, now furious. He throws his rosary necklace to the ground and grinds it into the dirt. Suddenly, the ground begins to rumble and rise. From beneath the surface, something foul starts pushing its way out. The stench that Babylon smelled before was coming from right here. A strange creature is trying to break free. The man smirks and says, I don't need to chase after Babylon or the others. For now, I'll strengthen the security here. I don't want anyone interfering, not when the day I've been waiting for is finally about to arrive. And with that, the episode ends on a chilling note. Looks like we've just been introduced to a true villain. But the question is, just how powerful is this man going to be? We now see Lloyd telling Jeriel to grant divine sorcery to Talia, Crow, and Galilea. Once they receive it, they also start using Lux and create weapons for themselves. Watching this, Jeriel mutters that he can't believe he had to give such fools divine sorcery. But Lloyd explains that the more people who know divine sorcery, the better it will be for his research. He then asks Jeriel to create a path for them so they won't have to perform rituals every time they use their power. Jeriel refuses, saying he only made that path for Lloyd and one other person, not for anyone else. Lloyd lets it go, remarking that Jeriel is drawing too much attention. He even suggests Jeriel shrink down like Grimm, which makes Jeriel scoff, asking why he should lower himself that much. Grimm cuts in, saying not to claim it's impossible. Jeriel finally transforms into a tiny bird and asks Lloyd what he thinks, but Lloyd just keeps sipping his tea, completely ignoring him. In the next scene, Grimm asks Lloyd if the research Ish was doing was also a form of divine sorcery. Jeriel confirms it was, a purification class, divine sorcery that heals wounds and wipes out undead demons. At that moment, the same thugs Lloyd had teleported away earlier suddenly reappear, looking for Galilea. They're shocked to see Lloyd and recognize him as the one who sent them away. It's revealed that these men are actually from Lodos, meaning Galilea used to be their boss. The thugs threaten to kill Lloyd, but Galilea begs him to forgive them, even offering to cut off one of his fingers as penance. Lloyd tells him that isn't necessary. Still, the thugs don't back down and prepare to attack Lloyd. He calmly casts his divine sorcery, erasing their memories and turning them into good men. They immediately apologize for their behavior, leaving everyone stunned. Jeriel points out that this spell usually isn't so effective, but because Lloyd cast it, its impact was overwhelming. The men admit they feel ashamed for what they did to Lloyd's sister and promise to go apologize to her. Jeriel can't understand why they were apologizing, so Grimm explains that these thugs were harassing Ish and Saria. Jeriel grows furious and is about to attack them, forcing Grimm to hold him back. We then see Babylon at the church, preparing food for everyone, and the people love his cooking. They're happy he decided to stay. A flashback shows Lloyd, with Jeriel's help, granting divine sorcery to Babylon and asking him to look after the place. Returning to the present, Lloyd heads to his room, where a group of maids warmly welcomes him. Jeriel is stunned, saying Lloyd is incredibly popular and that the life of a prince is truly amazing. Happy with his choice to stay, he starts making noise, only for Grimm to slap him and tell him to stay quiet if he really wants to remain there. Lloyd then pulls out a wooden doll, shocking Jeriel. Grimm explains that Lloyd built the doll to automatically handle small chores. Lloyd even commands the doll to bring him tea. Jeriel's mind instantly jumps to something perverse, taking over the doll's body to sneak into the bath with the maids. Grimm angrily warns him that if he so much as touches the doll, he won't be spared. In the next scene, Lloyd enjoys his tea and says they'll soon hunt ghouls, calling them the perfect targets to test their divine sorcery. Grimm asks if there are really that many ghouls around. Lloyd answers that back when they visited Lorist, he had gathered plenty of information about them. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and everyone, including the doll, hides. It turns out to be Silpha. She asks if Lloyd had called for her. Lloyd nods and invites her to join them on a ghoul hunt if she's free. Flustered, Silpha runs off, confusing everyone. Moments later, she comes back fully equipped and says she's ready. Rain also joins the group, and together they head into the city. Rain is amazed by the place, saying it's hard to believe there are ghouls here. Silpha explains that the Adventurers Guild received reports of sightings in this area. Lloyd asks if she can track them by smell, but she says no. The ghouls reek of rotting flesh, and with so much food waste dumped around here, it's impossible to pinpoint them. Lloyd realizes his spectral detection won't work either, because the city is too crowded. Then they notice Ish and Saria arriving. Lloyd scolds them for coming without bodyguards, but Ish says they just wanted pancakes for lunch and invites him along. Jeriel eagerly agrees, but Grimm stops him, reminding them they have work to do. Still, Lloyd lights up at the mention of pancakes, and the whole group ends up going with them. At the cafe, Grimm is surprised to see Lloyd excited about something other than magic, but Lloyd insists pancakes are a kind of magic too, passionately explaining how they're made and what they taste like, which makes everyone hungry. Saria tells him to try his first pancakes plain, and he agrees. When their pancakes arrive, everyone loves them. During the meal, Ish asks what they're doing in town. They explain they're here to hunt ghouls, which frightens her. They ask if she's heard about them, and she says yes. Ghouls have been attacking people, forcing many to seek shelter in the church. Most of the sightings are near the bridge. Some adventurers went to fight them, but never returned. Hearing this makes Lloyd uneasy. Meanwhile, Saria worries the upcoming recital might get canceled. Rain asks if another recital is planned, and they explain it will be even grander than the last, held during the Great Advent Festival, the day they celebrate the birth of God. The king and pope are expected to attend. Ish smiles and says she'll be happy if they all come, though she prays the recital won't be ruined by the ghoul problem. Rain quietly resolves that she won't let the recital be ruined. She remembers the beautiful songs, the pancakes she enjoyed, and how much she loves this country. With determination, she vows not to let anyone get hurt. In the next scene, they arrive at the bridge where Rain mutters that this must be where the ghouls are hiding. Lloyd tells the group that the ghouls must be down below in the sewers. They all head down, but even Shiro and Silpha can't pick up the scent because of the overwhelming stench. They're certain something must be here. Lloyd insists on going inside to check, worried about the missing adventurers and also about the one he had sent ahead earlier. Just then, Tao suddenly emerges from the sewer and throws her arms around Lloyd. Seeing her safe, Lloyd smiles and asks if she's all right. She teases him, saying he must have really missed her if he was that worried. She clings tightly to him until Lloyd calls out to Silpha for help, who promptly pushes Tao back. Lloyd then asks Tao if she came from the sewer and whether she found any ghouls. Tao explains that she thought they would be there but never came across them. The place was filthy, and she ended up getting lost. She says she only managed to get out after sensing Lloyd's presence and following it. Tao warns that the sewers are like a giant maze, with the stench so strong it's nearly impossible to focus on key detection. She decides to return to her room to grab supplies like a torch, but Lloyd stops her, saying that won't be necessary. He casts his divine sorcery, Helios, filling the sewers with light. The dark tunnels brighten instantly, making it easy to see. Lloyd explains that Helios isn't just for illumination. It also works as purification. He casts it again, cleansing the entire sewer. The stench vanishes, the water turns clear, and even Tao feels her fatigue lift. Shocked, she remarks that even the air is fresh now, and she can finally focus. She activates spectral detection to search for ghouls. Rain hands her new clothes, which look beautiful on her, and Tao leads the group deeper in, saying the ghouls are nearby. Shiro signals that he'll flush the ghouls out himself and charges ahead. But moving too far from Lloyd's spell, he's quickly overwhelmed by the stench. Covering his nose, he presses forward anyway, determined to bring the ghouls out. Lloyd realizes it'll take Shiro some time, so he uses spectral detection to scan the area. Tao suddenly grabs him, accusing him of using key breathing. She demands to know where he learned it, but Lloyd can't reveal the truth. Once again, he calls for Silpha, who pushes Tao away. Lloyd then asks Silpha if she brought her sword. She shakes her head, saying she figured he'd give her a weapon himself, which is why she didn't bring one. Amused, Lloyd praises her quick thinking. But Tao seizes the moment, challenging Silpha to a contest to prove who's stronger. Silpha refuses, saying they're here to test Lloyd's divine sorcery, not waste time. Tao smirks and adds a condition. The winner gets to go on a full day's date with Lloyd. Both Lloyd and Rain are stunned. Lloyd demands to know what Tao's talking about, but she insists they deserve a reward for helping with his experiments. Silpha, furious at the suggestion, snaps at Tao to watch her mouth and dares her to challenge her again. Nervous, Tao asks if she's going to play or not. Rain jumps in, saying she'll play too. Just then Shiro returns, driving out a horde of ghouls. Tao declares the rules. Whoever kills the most ghouls wins the match. The others agree, and Lloyd equips each of them with a trial weapon infused with Lux, giving Tao a gauntlet. She eagerly reminds everyone of the prize, and the contest begins. Tao quickly takes down 2 ghouls and continues slashing through more with ease, impressing everyone. She moves in on 2 more when Silpha intercepts, defeating them first. Furious, Tao rushes to kill even more. With Silpha hot on her heels, the 2 start competing fiercely, cutting down ghouls side by side, their rivalry spilling over into the fight. Tao admits Silpha is impressive, fighting without key techniques or magic, yet still landing powerful strikes. Silpha, meanwhile, notices Tao damaging her weapon and silently respects her strength. Both complain to Lloyd that the weapons aren't dealing enough damage and ask for stronger ones. Watching them, Rain is amazed, noting how they're fighting ghouls, battling each other, and still providing Lloyd valuable feedback. She decides she has to help too, and win that date with Lloyd. She comes up with an idea and coats her weapon in poison. Lloyd is intrigued, impressed that she added a poison effect. Rain assumes her weapon has become much stronger, but when she tries attacking a ghoul, her weapon shatters instead. Startled, she apologizes to Lloyd for failing him. But Lloyd reassures her, saying she actually gave him a great idea. He quickly crafts her a new weapon and hands it over. It looks similar to the last one, but when she strikes a ghoul, the poison effect kills it instantly. Stunned, she asks what he did. Lloyd explains that he simply added a poison effect to the divine sorcery. Grimm clarifies that the weapon itself isn't truly poisonous. It's just that divine sorcery makes it effective against ghouls. Jeriel, amazed, admits he never thought of using it this way. Grimm says it's only natural that Lloyd would experiment and evolve divine sorcery, since it was originally created by God to fight demons. Lloyd also forges a new weapon for Silpha, and the three of them battle together against the ghouls. Grimm comments that Lloyd has excellent assistants to test his creations. Soon they've slain 23 ghouls, leaving only one final monster. Excited, they all agree that whoever kills it will win the date with Lloyd. They rush in with everything they've got, but this last ghoul proves far stronger than the others, defeating all three in one strike. The group stands in shock at the overwhelming display of power. Meanwhile, Lloyd also turns back and looks at that ghoul. He realizes this one is on a whole different level of strength. In the next scene, we see the man who had Father by the throat. He mutters that ghouls have already snuck in right under them. He curses himself, saying he should have tightened security earlier. Standing beside him is a ghost-like figure. The ghost asks if it should take over the Father's body. The man replies that if it does, it will be able to freely move around inside the church. At that moment, we see that Isher has been watching everything. The sight horrifies her, and she asks the man what on earth he's doing. The man looks at her and scoffs, saying, "Great, another piece of trash just showed up. Guess I'll have to deal with you too." In the last episode, we saw Tao, Silpha, and Ren fighting together to wipe out the ghouls. But then a much stronger ghoul appeared, one that quickly pushed them back. Ren noticed something strange. This monster had attached a string around her leg. Shocked, she realized what it was. Tao grew angry and charged at the monster, but suddenly she found herself kneeling down against her will. Confused, she thought, "Why am I kneeling?" At that moment, the monster released even more strings. That's when it became clear. It had forced Tao to kneel using those threads. Just as it was about to attack, Silpha rushed in and cut through the strings. Silpha admitted that her arm wasn't working properly, and Tao agreed, saying they still didn't fully understand what kind of ability this monster was using. The ghoul then extended its threads toward Lloyd. The moment they touched him, it sensed Lloyd's overwhelming mana and recoiled in fear. Meanwhile, Tao, Silpha, and Ren attacked together, but the monster dodged with impossible speed. Ren realized it wasn't just dodging randomly, it was using its spinal cord and reflexes to react instantly. Lloyd examined the threads and discovered they weren't normal strings at all, but tiny bones extended from its body, something he called spinal threads. That's when Ren remembered something Jade had told her. He had once explained about a type of being known as a neuron blighted. These were people who couldn't fully control their powers, releasing endless, mana-made spinal threads from their bodies. When these threads touched someone, they interfered with the nervous system, allowing the blighted to control them like puppets. The threads also acted like sensors, letting them detect everything around them, which boosted their reaction speed tremendously. Ren recalled that one of these blighted had once been used in a civil war as a living weapon. He slaughtered countless people, moving like an unstoppable zombie, even after being shot in the heart. It took incredible effort to finally drag his body into the sea to stop him. Hearing this, Tao asked, "But if he died, then how is he alive now?" Ren explained that before his body had moved on reflex alone, but this was different. Now he was moving with full control. Lloyd then suggested that the body must have turned into a ghoul when it fell into the sea, and unlike normal ghouls, this one seemed to have retained its past memories. Determined to fight, Tao, Silpha, and Ren prepared themselves. They figured they just needed to avoid the strings, but the monster suddenly unleashed a massive number of them at once, each carrying commands like fall on head, sit down, or slip. Anyone touched by them immediately followed those commands. Meanwhile, at the church, Isher witnessed the cloaked man strangling the father. A ghost-like entity asked if it could possess Isher, and the man agreed while tightening his grip on the father's neck. Just as the ghost lunged, Babylon appeared. Using his divine sorcery, he obliterated the ghost and struck the man's arm, forcing him to release the father. From above, Babylon mocked him, asking if he had lost his way and if he needed guidance. The man snarled back that there was nothing Babylon could show him and, enraged, began transforming. Back in the fight, Tao, Silpha, and Ren launched a serious coordinated attack. The ghoul countered with more strings, but this time they dodged and closed the distance. Still, the monster blocked their strikes with impossible reflexes. Silpha drew its attention with a heavy sword strike, forcing it to use both hands to block. This gave Ren the chance to leap onto it and inject poison. Gariel doubted poison would affect a ghoul, but Lloyd explained it wasn't ordinary poison. Ren had used a neurotoxin to paralyze its nervous system. The ghoul's movements faltered, and Tao seized the moment to kick it hard. Ren warned that the paralysis wouldn't last long, urging them to finish it quickly. Tao unleashed a flurry of punches, but the monster still managed to release its threads again. Tao dodged relentlessly, though she sustained injuries. The threads were so sharp they sliced through nearby ghouls as well. Refusing back down, Tao grabbed hold of the strings and hurled the monster towards Silpha. Ready with her blade, Silpha slashed it with full force, sending it flying. They cheered, thinking they had won, but Silpha quickly corrected them. The monster had regained its reflexes just before the strike landed and managed to escape. She realized it was controlling its powers far better than any blighted should, making the situation even more dangerous. The scene shifted to the monster outside. It muttered that its master was still in the church and that the day he had been waiting for was almost here. Promising to play again with the adventurers later, it tried to retreat, but then Lloyd appeared, snapping his fingers and shattering the monster's leg. Meanwhile, Silpha, Tao, and Ren received a message from Lloyd through Shiro, saying he had stepped away for a bit. The crippled monster panicked at Lloyd's display of power and began recalling its past. It revealed that its life had been miserable from the start, abused, homeless, and eventually killed, turning into a wraith. As a spirit, it could only possess weak bodies, never strong ones with resilient souls. That changed when it met its master, who offered it the body of a fallen soldier from the Civil War, a body designed as a weapon. Merging with the corpse, the wraith realized how much they had in common. Both had suffered and endured endless struggle before death, and from that moment on, that powerful body became its own. The wraith asked, "Then what do you want in return?" But the man only laughed and said, "I don't want anything. Use this body however you like." Hearing that, the wraith went straight for revenge. The very first thing he did was kill the people who had once killed him. But once that was done, he had nothing left. When he returned, his master welcomed him warmly, saying, "Welcome back home." Those words struck the wraith deeply. He had never heard anything like that before. For the first time, he felt true happiness. From that moment on, he accepted that man as his master. The scene shifted back to the present, where Lloyd was releasing his aura. The monster's body instinctively trembled in fear. It thought, "There's something different about this boy." He noticed my wraith before anyone else, and even made contact with it. I sensed enormous mana inside him, so much that even I froze in shock. This boy is terrifying. How could he possibly have that much mana? Shaken, the monster pleaded, "Please don't hurt me. Let me go." But then it realized something. If it didn't stop Lloyd here, Lloyd would move on and harm its master. That was unacceptable. Rage filled its body. Forcing itself to recover its broken leg, it charged at Lloyd. It dodged most of Lloyd's attacks, but one strike shattered its arm. Still, it refused to back down. "No matter, I'll fight with one arm if I have to." Meanwhile, Lloyd calmly stood there, still eating his food. The monster lunged at him. But just as it was about to land a hit, Lloyd casually raised a barrier. The attack bounced off harmlessly. With little effort, Lloyd countered and defeated it. Lying broken, the monster muttered to itself, asking both its wraith and the body's original owner, "What should I have done to win?" But then, in its fading moments, it noticed Lloyd's divine sorcery. Unlike the harsh magic it had always known, this one was warm. For the first time, the monster felt calm. It asked softly, "Who are you?" That shocked both Lloyd and Grimm. "Wait, how can this ghoul talk?" Lloyd's excitement grew. You should have told me from the beginning. I wouldn't have had to hurt you this much. I want to understand how your body works. Do you know your name? There's so much I'd like to learn about you. Come with me. The monster was overwhelmed by this kindness. No one had ever shown it such care before. Tears welled up as it grabbed Lloyd's hand. It didn't even know if it was crying or if the body itself was. Either way, it felt warmth. Grateful, it whispered, "Thank you, and forgive me." A memory flashed back. Its master had once handed it a strange orb saying, "This is a divine spell. When it breaks, both your body and your soul will be destroyed instantly, so swallow it." Back in the present, the orb suddenly shattered. A massive explosion followed, consuming the monster completely. At that very moment, its master felt the disturbance from above and froze in shock. Elsewhere, Grim collapsed from the impact of the divine magic. Lloyd rushed to heal him. Both Lloyd and Jeriel were stunned. How could a monster possibly have divine sorcery? Jeriel explained, "That spell we just witnessed, it was highly advanced. Only a handful of people are capable of casting it." Lloyd recalled the monster's final words, "Please, meet my master." Remembering this, he picked up its sword and said, "So you had a master too? Interesting." Meanwhile, Babylon noticed that same master, standing frozen in one place. Realizing the danger, he turned to Isher. "Take father and get out of here." She hesitated. "But what about you?" "I'll be fine. I'll handle this alone. Don't send anyone else to help me." Terrified but left with no choice, Isher carried father away. Babylon muttered to himself, "I didn't call for backup because no one else can face this man. I don't know why he suddenly stopped just now, but at least it gave Isher a chance to escape. I just need to hold out a little longer until she's gone. Then I'll retreat as well." But then the man snapped back to consciousness. "Where is Isher?" "She's gone," Babylon replied. The man sneered. "What are you? Some kind of monster? Is that what you're asking just by looking at my body? It's a long story, not that it matters. You're about to die anyway." He lunged at Babylon, but Babylon leapt into the air, dodging. He remembered how Lloyd had once warned him to stay inside the church, suspecting that this so-called master wasn't what he appeared to be. Babylon was startled by how sharp Lloyd's instincts had been. Lloyd had told him, "The fact that you noticed him is more important than me noticing him. I'm a prince. Danger doesn't come my way as easily, but you've survived through struggle. You can sense when something's truly wrong." Babylon had brushed it off back then, thinking maybe he was just imagining things. But now, facing this man, he knew Lloyd had been right. In the present, Babylon fought fiercely, dodging every strike. He activated his divine sorcery, stunning his opponent. The man was shocked. You can use divine sorcery?" Babylon suddenly remembered Lloyd touching him earlier and thought, "I'll need to ask him what kind of buffs he gave me. Right now, I feel braver than ever." Knowing he couldn't win physically, Babylon prepared his purifying spell. "Glow," he whispered. "This will change your heart. I don't have enough mana to purify you in one strike, so I'll keep casting it until it works." Light poured from his hands again and again, blinding his enemy. That's the strength of divine sorcery. The light hides my position. You can't even see me anymore. It's over. But then, shockingly, the man struck, tearing into Babylon's body. Horrified, Babylon gasped, How did you find me?" The man smirked. "You thought the light blinded me? No, I found you by your scent," he added coldly. "And you were targeting my heart, weren't you? Too bad. Attacking there won't do you any good." Meanwhile, far away, Lloyd remained unaware of the deadly battle raging inside the church. Meanwhile, Isher is shown safely leading father away. On the other side, that man, after striking down Babylon, throws him hard to the ground. Blood begins to pour from Babylon's wounds. Seeing this, the man says, "See, I told you you've got nothing to show me." But then Babylon forces himself back up and charges in to attack. The man is shocked. How could Babylon still be alive? Babylon explains, "My body is extremely flexible. Right when your strike was about to land, I shifted my body's structure so I wouldn't take the full damage." Then he admits, "But now, I've hit my limit. I have to finish this fight quickly." With that, Babylon unleashes another round of divine sorcery attacks. But the man's body is so tough that Babylon ends up taking more damage himself. Even so, he refuses to give up. He begins drawing on the strength of his very soul, launching relentless strikes. Still, the man doesn't seem affected at all. Exhausted, Babylon gasps, "Please, just fall already." He thinks of Ishtar and whispers, "I hope she managed to escape." Yet even after all those attacks, the man stands untouched. He counters with a devastating blow, hurling Babylon straight into the church. Babylon is left in terrible shape. The man approaches and says, "Enough. Let me show you true divine sorcery." Summoning countless swords from pure sorcery, he surrounds Babylon. Babylon stares in terror. This monster also wields divine sorcery. The man's eyes split into two pairs, glowing with menace, as he rains swords down on Babylon. The scene cuts back to Ishtar, who has made it to the guild with Father. The receptionist gasps, "What happened to him?" Soon other adventurers gather, concerned. "Is something wrong? If you're in trouble, tell us. We'll help." Ishtar is about to ask for their help, but then Babylon's words echo in her mind. "Don't call for anyone else." Remembering that, she lies. "He just slipped in the rain. He needs some rest, that's all. I have to go now." She leaves quickly, but once outside, she breaks down in tears. Running toward the church, she cries, "I'm such a fool. Why didn't I ask those adventurers? They look so strong." But then she remembers how powerful the man truly was. Even if she had brought them, they would have been slaughtered. "No one can stop him. I have to find another way. I have to save Babylon, or he'll die." She recalls the man's cruel words. "Your singing is pathetic. I hate your voice." That memory crushes her. "The only thing I'm good at is singing. If he hates my voice, how could I possibly stop him?" She prays desperately, "God, take my life, but please save Babylon." Exhausted, she stumbles and falls, sobbing in the rain. Just then, someone approaches. She looks up. It's Lloyd, holding an umbrella. He says calmly, "We were on our way to the guild. Silpha and the others are buying raincoats. Wait a little while and then we'll go to the church together." He starts to leave, but Ishtar stops him. "Please, you have to save Babylon. He's in danger." Then realizing what she's asking, she shakes her head. "I'm sorry. You're just a child. Forget what I said." Tears blur her eyes, but when she opens them again, Lloyd is gone. In truth, Lloyd has already teleported to the church. He finds Babylon beaten nearly to death, and rage burns in his eyes. The next moment, Babylon drifts into the afterlife, where he meets Jade. Smiling faintly, Babylon tells him how much he loves Ishtar's singing. Jade listens quietly, then leads him to look ahead. Babylon's eyes widen in awe. He can hear Ishtar's song echoing in that place. He understands it's not his time yet. "Next time I come here, Jade, we'll share a drink together." As he departs, he notices familiar faces, the monster and the spirit, also present in that realm. With a final goodbye, Babylon returns. When he opens his eyes, he sees Ishtar singing to him. Everyone is overjoyed. Babylon is awake. Relief overwhelms Ishtar, and she collapses, falling asleep from pure exhaustion. Babylon, confused, asks, "Will someone tell me what happened? How am I even alive?" It's explained. When he was wounded, Lloyd rushed him to the hospital for treatment. 3 days later, he finally regained consciousness. In the meantime, Lloyd had Tao guard the church and sent Silpha to the guild with a full report. Even the king was informed, and all the sisters from the church were moved into the castle for safety. The 2 men Lloyd had purified were now helping rebuild the ruined church. Hearing this, Babylon asks, "But where's Prince Lloyd?" At that moment, Lloyd teleports in. "I'm here," he says, ready to experiment on Babylon to wake him up. But seeing Babylon already awake, Lloyd looks disappointed. His experiment will have to wait. Later, Babylon sighs in relief. "Good thing my body's flexible. That's the only reason I survived." But Talia snaps, "Idiot, you didn't live because of that. You lived because Jeriel and Lloyd healed you nonstop with magic for 10 hours straight, and still you didn't wake up." Babylon turns pale. "I must have worried you all terribly. Thank you for saving me." Lloyd replies, "If you want to thank anyone, thank Ishtar and Jade. Ishtar never stopped purifying your body until you woke. And if it weren't for Jade's teleportation power that I borrowed, you would have died." Babylon nods, humbled. "You're right." He then recounts everything that happened in the church. Hearing his story, Gariel says, "Your opponent turned into a monster and still managed to use divine sorcery? How is that even possible?" Grim adds, "When we were down in that underground ghoul's nest, we saw the same thing. Are you saying those ghouls could also use divine sorcery?" Gariel admits he doesn't know either. Babylon explains that he used the ghoul's spell many times against that man, but for some reason, it never purified him. Lloyd then says it's because the man probably doesn't feel he's done anything wrong. Purification only works on those who, deep down, believe they've committed a sin. The spell can't create guilt where none exists. Or maybe that man's body is simply beyond the reach of divine sorcery. Either way, he's clearly very dangerous. In the next scene, Lloyd visits Father to investigate. Father explains that the man grabbed his throat and told him to strengthen the security. Hearing this, Lloyd realizes the man must have wanted the wraith to possess both Father and Isher so that the church would tighten its defenses even more. But why? Lloyd then asks Babylon when exactly he first met this man. Babylon replies that he was only keeping watch over the garden. He first encountered him there. Lloyd recalls how Isher once mentioned that the man hated her singing, calling it worthless. Putting everything together, Lloyd concludes there must be something hidden inside that garden. He has truly taken on the role of a detective now. Returning to the church, Lloyd finds it has already been repaired. He thanks Tao for watching over it and asks if anything happened. Tao replies that nothing major occurred, except Katrina, the receptionist, came by. Tao says she explained everything in detail to her. Lloyd asks what Katrina said, and just then, Katrina herself walks in, looking furious. She blurts out that she's thinking of quitting the Adventurers Guild. Tao asks why, and Katrina explains that after hearing about everything, she contacted the church headquarters and reported the incident. We then see the Pope, the head of the church, being shown the man's picture and hearing about his crimes. A lady explains that people are asking whether the man is connected to their church since he even used the divine spell Lux during the attack. Some church members react angrily, insisting it's impossible for a monster to be one of their own, and demand to know who spread such rumors. The lady answers that Babylon, who fought the man, was the one who said so. She adds that Babylon used to be a criminal, but now serves the governor of Lotus Island. Hearing that, others scoff. How could a criminal be trusted? They accuse him of spreading lies. The Pope calms everyone down, reminding them that without proof, nothing can be decided. When some object asking how he can trust a criminal, the Pope replies that he doesn't. But that's exactly why they will demand evidence. If accusations are made against the church, then proof must be provided. After hearing all this, Katrina grows angrier. She says it's outrageous, and because of it, the guild will not offer any help with this incident. They can't even post wanted posters of the man. Lloyd tells her it's fine. There's no need to apologize. They only need to gather evidence, and they will. He orders the ground to be dug up, confident something will be found. Father protests angrily, saying that place is sacred and must not be disturbed. Lloyd insists that without searching, they won't uncover any evidence. He mentions that even Shiro could help with the investigation, but for some reason, the dog has been avoiding him, as if hiding something. Meanwhile, Crow uses his special crow ability to ask the birds what's wrong in the area. The crows begin searching for evidence, while it's revealed that Shiro is simply too frightened to help. Soon after, Sari arrives with Ren. Overjoyed to see Isher safe, she asks if she'll be able to perform at the recital. Isher is still shaken, and Saria turns to thank Babylon for saving her. Babylon warns her that since Isher was attacked once, she could be targeted again. For her safety, it would be best to cancel the recital. Hearing this, Saria notices the fear in Isher's eyes and agrees. She decides she'll perform alone instead and leaves. Just then, Crows report something unusual. Silpha investigates and discovers a hidden door. As she opens it, a foul stench fills the air. Everyone is shocked. It leads to a concealed basement. Lloyd examines the door and explains that it's made of special wood, designed to hide from both mana and ki. That's why no one ever noticed it before. Isher, disturbed by the smell, wonders aloud what could be going on beneath the church. She tries to follow the others down, but Crow stops her, warning she shouldn't come. Frightened, she steps back. Babylon also tells her to stay behind with Father while he goes in. But Isher pleads with him to let her come, promising not to be a burden. Babylon scolds her and refuses. At that moment, Talia intervenes. She reminds Babylon that he's the one still injured and insists he should remain with Father. She takes both of them away, ignoring his protests about the danger below. Talia admits she knows the risks, but says Isher must face her fear, or it will ruin her singing forever. She confesses she's a fan of Isher's, just like Babylon. Unseen by them, Saria overhears everything from the shadows. Meanwhile, Isher makes up her mind. Terrified but determined, She declares that she must go down there. If she doesn't confront her fear, she'll never be able to sing again. Shiro overhears her words, and they give him courage as well. Though trembling, he decides to join the others in the investigation. When they descend into the basement, everyone freezes in horror. The sight before them is unbearable, gruesome experiments, evidence of countless lives taken and sacrificed. The atmosphere is chilling, and the group trembles in fear. Only Lloyd remains calm, silently observing the nightmare before them. We're taken back to a scene from the past where Babylon was severely injured and lying unconscious. His condition was so bad that no matter how much his friends tried to wake him, he just wouldn't get up. Seeing him like that made everyone really sad. That's when Isha appeared. She said she wanted to use her divine sorcery to heal Babylon and begged to be allowed to do so. Talia immediately refused, telling her to rest instead, but Isha insisted, saying she was fine and just wanted to sing. That made Talia angry, and she almost slapped Isha to stop her. But Galilea intervened, holding Talia back. Talia then told Isha that they'd discovered it was someone from the church who had attacked Babylon. Because of that, they couldn't trust anyone from the church. After saying this, she walked away. Even so, Isha didn't leave. She quietly moved closer to Babylon and began to sing. The scene then shifted back to the present, right where the last episode left off. Lloyd and his group had entered the hidden base of that man they'd been chasing. What they saw shocked them all. Inside, people had been subjected to horrifying experiments. The sight was unbearable, making their stomachs turn. Looking around, Silpha noticed both monsters and humans together in this place. Then she realized something. The sound of the church repairs above ground could be heard clearly even here. She remembered how that man always claimed he could hear Isha's singing. That meant this hideout was right below the church. Galilea wasn't convinced the man was still here. He asked Silpha if she thought he'd return. Silpha replied that she didn't think so, since after the chaos he caused above, he must have realized they'd discovered this base. Just then, Ren pointed out something horrifying. The bodies in front of them were stitched together with needle and thread, exactly like the ghouls they'd fought in the sewers. That shocked Silpha even more, confirming that the whole sewer incident had been part of his plan. But what was he really trying to do? Lloyd explained that this was synthesis. This place was essentially an alchemy lab. Here, cells from one living organism were extracted and implanted into another. He believed the man was trying to implant race into human bodies. He figured this out from the papers lying around, which described the experiments. Isha was horrified to learn the church was behind something so dark. Silpha added that it was now impossible to tell if the ghouls they had been fighting were real or just these stitched-together creatures. In other words, fake monsters. Hearing this, Ren grew furious. She shouted that this was inhumane, that he couldn't just toy with people's lives like this. Silpha agreed, but wondered aloud, what was he planning to do with all these creations? Lloyd answered grimly, saying whatever his goal was, it had to be something terrible. Deep down, Lloyd suspected that man had even modified his own body. He wanted to see just how far he had gone with his research. Silpha then suggested destroying the lab. Everyone agreed. Lloyd, though, was stunned. He asked if she really meant to wipe out the entire place. Silpha said yes, but first they needed to inform Prince Albert about everything. That's when a creature suddenly appeared and launched an attack on Lloyd, but Crow stepped in. If you remember, Crow's ability is cursed speech, similar to Toge Inumaki's power from Jujutsu Kaisen. Crow ordered the attack to fall, and it did. The creature revealed itself, half human, half snake, a lamia. Galilea muttered that the man must have unleashed all kinds of monsters here, but Lloyd seemed to know something about this lamia. He quickly told Crow not to kill her. Crow agreed. The lamia attacked again, firing off air slashes. Galilea used his web ability to shield everyone. Meanwhile, Crow and Ren stepped forward to fight. Ren tried to strike the lamia, but it shielded itself with a barrier. Everyone was shocked. How could a lamia use such a technique? Galilea noted that if things kept going like this, the fight could drag on. But Lloyd thought otherwise. Crow activated his ability again, commanding the lamia to sit down. His words pierced right through the barrier, surprising Lloyd. Then Crow repeated the command over and over. With divine sorcery now fused into his ability, his power had grown even stronger. Using this, he managed to overpower the lamia. Everyone was amazed at how quickly Crow had taken her down. They said he had become truly powerful. Lloyd approached the lamia and revealed the truth. She wasn't really a lamia at all, but a human who had been turned into this by the man's experiments. That left everyone stunned once again. Ren grew uneasy, asking what they should do with her now. The lamia, furious, tried to break free, forcing Crow to prepare to subdue her again. But before he could, Isha stepped in. Though trembling, she calmed herself and gently told the Lamia not to be afraid, that they were here to help her. Galilea tried to warn Isha to step back, but Lloyd stopped him. The Lamia suddenly broke free and lashed out at Isha, injuring her. Even so, Isha whispered to her in her heart, saying it was okay, that she understood her fear, because she too had been terrified of that man all this time. She admitted how powerless she had always felt, wondering what someone like her could even do. Tears streamed down her face. Just then, she heard the sound of Saria's piano playing from inside the church above. The melody gave her strength. She rose to her feet, realizing exactly what she needed to do. Isha began to sing, her voice flowing beautifully in harmony with the piano. The song was so pure that even the Lamia began to calm down. Crow, hearing her, grew emotional, remembering how Isha had once sung for Babylon when he was near death. Talia entered, astonished that Isha had been singing nonstop for so long. Crow told her that Isha had been singing ever since she arrived, 12 hours straight. That shocked Talia. She said this was madness. Her mana should have been completely drained by now. And yet Isha was still singing without even casting divine sorcery. With tears in her eyes, Talia admitted that Isha was truly amazing. Crow also broke down, moved to tears by her song. The scene shifts back to the present. The Lamia, now calm after hearing the song, says she remembers it. She explains that when she was imprisoned here, she used to hear this very song. Even the man who experimented on her would grow quiet whenever it played, whenever the monster inside her body tried to take over. She would listen to the song, and it kept her from losing control. She realizes that the woman singing now is the same person who once saved her from going out of control. Everyone else is also deeply moved by Isha's song. Lloyd feels happy as well. The girl, no longer hostile, quietly admits that she is still human. With tears streaming down her face, she apologizes. Seeing this, Isha hugs her and asks for forgiveness too, saying she was so close yet still couldn't save her back then. That makes the girl cry even harder. Soon after, Albert arrives at the scene and learns about the laboratory. Furious, he says he wants to kill the one responsible for all of this as soon as possible, but laments that they don't know enough about him. The Lamia tries to help but apologizes, saying she has amnesia. Her memory is blank. Lloyd notes that her condition is likely a side effect of the experiments done on her, to the point where she doesn't even remember her own name. He suggests that she was probably an adventurer before all this. Galilea agrees, pointing out that she clearly has skill with sorcery, but the Lamia sadly admits that even if she regains her memories, she can't return to a normal life because of how her body has changed. Galilea reassures her, telling her she can live happily with them in Lodi. Crow even adds they'll make her a long skirt, which makes both the Lamia and Isha smile. Lloyd, however, remains focused. He wonders who exactly this man is that could perform such twisted experiments. That's when the Lamia shows him something she found in the lab, an old rosary. She isn't sure if it belongs to the man or not, but remembers one thing. He always said he hated God and despised the church. Lloyd examines the rosary closely, then shows her the research papers they found. The Lamia recoils in fear, while Isha tells Lloyd he shouldn't be showing her that, but Lloyd explains that the choice is hers. If she wants, she can burn the papers. However, with this research, they might be able to restore her human body. He tells her that her body is made up of a complex combination of mana signatures, too difficult for him to unravel alone. But with her help, he believes they can solve it. The decision is hers. After some hesitation, she agrees, picking up the papers and saying she will help. Isha, shocked, runs out of the room. Meanwhile, Galilea reassures the Lamia again, telling her they'll stand by her. Crow agrees and says the first step is to give her a name. He asks Lloyd to come up with something sweet. Lloyd suggests since she's a Lamia, they should call her Lami. Everyone agrees. The story then shifts to Isha, who is searching for Saria. She assumes Saria has already gone back to the castle, but instead finds her sitting quietly nearby. Relieved, Isha runs over and apologizes. Then she turns to Babylon and declares she has made her decision. She will sing. It's the one thing she knows she can do well, and she wants to embrace it. Saria smiles and agrees, saying that's wonderful, and suggests they perform together at the upcoming Great Advent Festival. They all get excited about the idea, but their joy is cut short when Albert arrives with grim news. He announces the festival will have to be canceled. The group is shocked and protests, asking why. Albert explains that based on Lami's account, the man behind all these experiments despises God and the church, meaning he could strike during the festival. Silpha adds that it makes sense he would hate Isha's singing too, but she still wonders, what exactly is he planning? Why build such a dangerous laboratory unless he had something terrible in mind? Holding the festival would be a serious risk. Talia proposes that perhaps his true target is the Pope himself, the head of the church. Albert agrees that if that's the case, they have no choice but to cancel. But he's troubled about how to announce it, since canceling would cause huge backlash. Silpha then brings up the rosary Lami had found, asking where it is now. They suddenly notice that Carlina has given it to Shiro to wear. Alarmed, Silpha snatches it away, pointing out that if it really belonged to that man, things could be far worse than they imagined. Babylon recalls seeing the man wearing a rosary too, but his was brand new. Perhaps he lost the old one and had another made. Silpha adds that most rosaries are made of silver, but this one is solid gold. At that moment, Father enters and explains, golden rosaries are extremely rare and can only be worn by 12 people, including the Pope. These 12 are known as the bishops, who oversee the central church. Ren realizes that means the man must be one of them, but Father quickly denies it, saying the bishops are holy men who would never commit such evil. Besides, he doesn't even look like one of them. Silpha argues otherwise. Based on what Babylon revealed, they now know this man can change his appearance. That means he could very well be hiding among the bishops. Father counters that it's also possible he stole the rosary from one of them, but insists he cannot believe one of the 12 is the culprit. Just then, Babylon recalls something chilling. When the man attacked them, he used divine sorcery, yet he didn't perform any kind of ritual. Normally, like Isha, one must sing or perform a rite to channel such power. The fact that he needed none of that could only mean one thing. He has already surpassed that requirement. He can use divine sorcery without a ritual. Here's the full translation of your passage in an American narration style, kept natural and smooth for voiceover use. Babylon says that since Prince Lloyd gave them access to divine sorcery, they've started to take it for granted. But normally, using divine sorcery requires a ritual, just like how Isher has to sing in order to activate it. That's what makes it a little complicated to use. Hearing this, Father replies that it must be true then. The only one who can use divine sorcery without a ritual is someone who has already passed, which means that person has to be one of the 12 bishops. Everyone begins to think deeply about it. But just then, Tao walks in holding a chessboard and asks, "Who wants to play?" Katrina jumps in and says she'll play. Meanwhile, Grimm questions Gariel about whether everything being said here is true. Gariel explains that he never gave his power directly to any of the bishops. He only gave access to the Pope, whose name is Gutan. Since Gutain trusts the other 11 bishops, they too gain access to divine sorcery. It's just like when Gariel gave Lloyd permission, and Lloyd in turn extended that access to all his companions. Albert then speaks up, saying that the church has already rejected everything Babylon told them. So he doubts that even if they warned the church now, they would cancel the festival. The most important point, he says, is that if the enemy has truly infiltrated the central church, then the Pope's life will be in danger no matter what, festival or not. Silpha agrees, adding that the worst part is the festival is just around the corner. If the traitor really is one of the 12 bishops, then they'll need to keep the Pope away from all of them on that day, while also keeping a close eye on each of them. They could use the excuse of providing security. That way, at least, that they might be able to save the Pope's life. Albert agrees, saying that for now, that seems to be their only option. He promises to help as much as he can, though he doesn't believe they can count on the Adventurers Guild this time. At this point, the only people they can trust are those present in this room. If anyone notices something strange about a bishop, they must capture him immediately. No matter what, they need to make sure the festival ends safely. Everyone agrees. The scene then shifts to the church, where a nun is seen carrying a letter. Suddenly, another nun appears, the same woman we saw in the last episode with the Pope. Her name is Anastasia. Strange name, but it is what it is. She stops the nun and asks where she's going with that letter. The nun explains that it's a message from the second prince, Albert, meant for the Pope. Anastasia demands the letter and snatches it away, reading it herself. A smile spreads across her face. She then goes into a hidden underground base, which turns out to be the lair of the same man still conducting experiments. She shows him Albert's letter, which says that Albert wants to inspect the church's facilities. For that, he'll need the Pope and all the bishops split into separate groups. The man laughs, saying it looks like they got their information from the Lamia. Anastasia agrees, pointing out that the second prince also destroyed one of their underground facilities. But judging by the letter, Albert still doesn't know the full picture. The man, however, doesn't care much about the letter. He continues his experiments, revealing that he managed to recover the severed hand of the Civil War monster, the same creature Lloyd fought against. The hand had been separated when Lloyd struck it. Looking at it, he remarks that the monster must have finally faced someone it couldn't handle. Whoever pulled this off is extremely powerful. Then, without hesitation, he devours the monster's hand with his own. He declares that even if the second prince has discovered their existence, he won't be able to do anything. If Albert thinks shutting down one small branch of his lab means victory, he's gravely mistaken. Even if Albert figures out what he's planning, he won't be able to stop it. The time is almost here. We then see even more terrifying monsters. Just like the Civil War beast, massive creatures, even a huge dragon. The man laughs darkly, declaring that no one will be able to stop them. At the Grand Advent Festival, they will finally reveal themselves. We see that finally, today is the day of the Great Advent Festival, the very festival where everyone is set to gather together. All the bishops are present as well, and Lloyd's team arrives to guard them. On the other side, we're shown the Pope and the rest of the bishops. We learn that the Pope's name is Gutan. He says, "Today is the Great Advent Festival. Let's hope everything goes well." Silpha agrees, but adds that it's unfortunate it's raining. Gutan then says maybe it's his fault, since rain seems to follow him wherever he goes. Silpha apologizes, saying that because of the rain, they couldn't prepare a proper welcoming parade for him. Still, everything else will go as planned. She explains that all the bishops will be placed in separate areas, and her team will guard them. Hearing this, one of the bishops named Ganmo gets upset, asking why Gutan is being separated from the rest. Gutan calms him down, saying it's Albert's plan. The one who attacked the cathedral before might strike again today, and Albert wants everyone safe. That's why he decided to separate them for protection. Tao quietly admits they can't tell the bishops the whole truth. The real reason for splitting them up is to identify the enemy, since he can disguise himself. He must be hiding among them. Silpha then tells Gutan that everything they're doing is to keep him safe, and asks him to move forward. Gutan agrees and sits in the carriage. After that, Silpha joins Anastasia and says she'll be her guard. Anastasia accepts, but one bishop nearby is watching and doesn't like any of it. He angrily says he doesn't need any guards, and that he can handle anyone who dares attack him. Another bishop named Dante scolds him to watch his mouth. This only makes him angrier, and the two start arguing. We learn that Rain will be guarding Dante today, along with another bishop named Yatro. Dante accepts and leaves. Meanwhile, Melissa leads the angry bishop away and brings him to Crow, since Crow will be guarding both of them. Tao, on the other hand, prays that whoever she gets assigned to protect will be a handsome guy. But when she finds out that both bishops she's guarding are bald, she's completely disappointed. Looking upset, she escorts them along. Elsewhere, another bishop approaches Babylon and says, "You're the one who was attacked inside the cathedral, right?" Before he can answer, a bishop named Thur steps in and snaps at Babylon, saying, "How dare you accuse a fellow bishop of being the enemy?" His companion calms him down and instead asks Babylon if he's found any evidence about the attacker. Babylon says no, and they head off to their carriage. Meanwhile, we see Talia and Galilea getting ready to guard two other bishops. They also set off toward the festival grounds. By now, crowds have gathered to watch the festival. Albert meets his father, the king, and tells him the Pope is about to arrive. The king says he hasn't seen Gutan in a long time. Albert asks if he's known him for a while, and the king replies that before he became king and before Gutan became Pope, the two of them knew each other well. Albert realizes that if the enemy really is hiding among the bishops, then separating them was the best move to keep Gutan safe. Just then, a guard informs Albert that the Pope has arrived. The king, excited, rushes to meet him. When Gutan and the king see each other, they greet each other like old friends. Albert reminds them it's better to continue their conversation inside, so they head in and sit down. But Albert is nervous. He explains that since this is a cathedral, weapons aren't allowed, which makes security weaker. He remembers showing his father a picture of the enemy and asking if he recognized him. Even though the enemy can shapeshift, he hopes something might click. But the king didn't recognize the man. Still, the king insists the festival cannot be canceled now. It's too late. He tells Albert to strengthen the security and handle things if anything happens. Albert silently hopes everything goes smoothly. We then see Silpha in church attire. People around begin whispering, wondering who this mysterious beauty is. Anastasia walks up to her, teasing that she's getting more attention than even her. But Silpha grows suspicious. She thinks if Anastasia is working with the enemy, that would be a serious problem. And in fact, she is. We flash back to a scene where Anastasia told Silpha to change clothes, since she needed to look like a sister if she was going to stay by her side. Silpha refused, but Anastasia lifted her skirt and found a sword strapped to her leg. She told Silpha she knew the sword was meant for her protection, but she couldn't carry it inside. She took the sword from her. Remembering that, Silpha thinks to herself that Anastasia is sharper than she expected, and she's very close to Gutan. She just hopes Anastasia isn't the enemy. But Anastasia, sensing Silpha's sharp presence, realizes Silpha suspects her. Still, she doesn't need to do anything right now. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake violently. The crowd thinks it's part of the festival performance, but Albert realizes it's an attack. From behind the cathedral, a massive dragon appears, roaring loudly. The ground trembles, and panic spreads through the people. Gutan calmly declares, "The gates of hell have opened." That's when the shocking truth is revealed. The Pope himself is the enemy. Gutan turns to the king and says he wished the king could have stayed below, just to watch the entire spectacle unfold. We then see a flashback. Gutan, sitting in his room, looking depressed. Two bishops visit him, apologizing for coming during such a difficult time. But they tell him they've decided to consider him as the next pope and ask if he's willing to perform the ritual to claim that role. Gutan agrees. Then we see the ritual scene. All the bishops tell Gutan they will test him with divine sorcery. If he can endure it, it'll prove there's no evil in his heart and that he's worthy to become pope. They unleash divine sorcery on him, but nothing happens. He's unharmed. Everyone is amazed. Gutan declares there's no shadow in his soul, and they praise him, calling him remarkable. They proceed to make him pope. Unbeknownst to them, a man is watching all of this in secret. Meanwhile, Gutan is thinking to himself that everyone else is wrong. They believe there's no evil in him. But after the ritual, Gutan realizes one thing for sure. He carries an evil so deep that even God cannot see it, and there's no cure for it. Back in the present, Gutan tells the king that his belief in darkness is as great as the darkness itself. The dragon's arrival causes such fierce earthquakes that Gutan explains his original plan was to send Kim Mirage here. But Albert destroyed his old facility, so he couldn't. No matter, his army will still lay waste to the country. We cut to the town, a huge pit has opened, and cameras, no, mechanical devices, emerge and start attacking the people. Hearing this, Albert rushes forward to protect the king, shouting that this is terrible. The very person they've been protecting is their enemy. "We must save the father," he says. Gutan replies that next he'll kill Albert, because Albert will be the next king. More truth spills out. Gutan vows to kill everyone who believes in God. He says this nation's laws were built on God's teachings. Don't kill, don't cheat, and people take those rules for granted. Actions must be pure, he declares. Just then, Gariel arrives. Gutan recognizes him and says, "This is our first meeting, Angel. I've done so much, yet your master, the God, still hasn't come to earth. I thought I'd cause so much destruction that God would have to appear himself to stop me." Gariel replies, "What are you doing? It looks like I'll be the one to judge you." Albert hears Gariel and wonders if this really is the angel who grants divine sorcery. Maybe he can ask for help, but how can he save everyone and the Father at the same time? Gutan uses his power to seize both Albert and the king, then transforms his body. Blades shoot out from him. Everyone gasps and starts to wonder if this is a monster. The king, shocked, says when Albert showed him Gutan's photo, he remembered that's how Gutan looked when he was younger. Then the king thinks of his own son. If his son were alive, he would look like that. Did the death of the king's son change him so much? Gutan taunts him, saying, "Is that really the thing you want to say in your final words?" and squeezes the king harder, terrifying everyone. The king tells Gariel to let him go and urges him to save Albert and their two children, saying he can't watch the ritual. Albert tells his father not to worry and asks Gariel to save him. Gariel is terrified and confused. He doesn't know what to do. Gutan then boasts that he will send the royal family to heaven. "I'll send them to paradise," he says, then tells everyone to enjoy whatever performance they have left. At that moment, Lloyd snaps his fingers and teleports Albert and the king away, along with everyone who was in danger. Gutan is shocked and can't believe what just happened. Gariel announces that his master is here, the reason he left heaven, and steps aside. Lloyd advances slowly, making an extremely imposing entrance. Gutan is excited and realizes just how powerful Lloyd is. He remembers a time Lloyd appeared before him unexpectedly, but he hadn't paid attention then. Gutan says he never imagined Lloyd would become his thorn. As a mortal, Gutan claims he could never reach God's place, so he wrought destruction to force God to come. He thought that by killing Lloyd, he would finally be taken to God. He even believes Lloyd is being served by an angel. Gutan says he will die peacefully once he kills Lloyd, because then he will have met God. Lloyd answers, I'm not God, I'm just the seventh prince. We then learn Lloyd has teleported everyone who was in the church to the castle, leaving people stunned. How did that happen? Diane asks if the devastation in the streets is Gutan's doing. Albert confirms everything is connected and says he needs help. He goes to his father and explains that the enemy can change faces. So he suspects the enemy has taken Gutain's form. The king agrees and orders all castle soldiers to prepare and evacuate the citizens quickly. Gutain senses Lloyd's mana. He can tell Lloyd is compressing a lot of it, though some is leaking out. Gutan says he's doing the same. Grim reports that Saria and Escher are safe. Lloyd instructs Grim to go save the city people, because far more than he expected have come into the city, and Lloyd will fight Gutain himself. Jeriel pleads, you can't fight him alone. Please let me join. Lloyd responds that Jeriel already knows he can't beat him. Grim grows afraid and remembers asking Lloyd earlier if Gutain was that powerful. Why not teleport to him directly and attack? Lloyd explained he couldn't. He'd only met Gutain briefly, and Gutain has so much mana he must suppress it like Lloyd does. Back in the present, Grim warns that Gutain is suppressing his mana and that he's as strong as a demon lord. Grim scolds Lloyd. Are you crazy? You don't even have a barrier up and you're going to fight him alone. I know you just want to take his attacks so you can study them. Lloyd finally says, all right, I won't do it. Now you two leave. Grim looks at him and asks, do you promise? Lloyd nods. Yeah, I promise. With no other choice, Grim listens and starts leaving with Jeriel. But Gutain doesn't let them walk away. He suddenly launches divine sorcery at them to stop them. That's when Lloyd steps in, summoning a terrifying spell to block Gutain's attack. In the next moment, a massive blast shakes the place. Even Gutain struggles to withstand that level of power. He stares in shock. Lloyd is attacking with just one finger. The force is so strong it slices through not one, not two, but three of Gutain's shields. Desperate, Gutain transforms his body to withstand the strike. He manages to block, but then, out of nowhere, Lloyd teleports behind him and smashes a kick across his face. Before Gutain can react, Lloyd unleashes a relentless storm of kicks, pounding him again and again, not giving him the slightest chance to counter. After the barrage, Lloyd calls on divine sorcery again, raising massive spikes from the ground that tear straight through Gutain's body, launching him clear out of the church. Grim and Jeriel stand frozen, stunned by the overwhelming strength they just witnessed. And there, standing on Gutain's body, is Lloyd, calm, unshaken, his hand still tucked casually in his pocket. He hasn't even bothered to take it out. Then Lloyd looks up, noticing the dragon wreaking havoc across the city. His eyes narrow, his anger boiling over. He was already furious, but now he's beyond enraged. I've got a lot to say to you, he growls. His mind flashes back to the Civil War, to the suffering caused by Gutain, and to the devastation he brought upon Babylon. The rage in Lloyd's chest burns hotter. He fixes his gaze on Gutain and says coldly, I wanted to ask you something, but before that, I'll tell you this. You've gone too far. You crossed the line, and that's something you should never have done. Gutain hears those words, and instead of fear, his excitement only grows. The episode begins right where the last one ended. We saw a swarm of chimeras rising from the ground and attacking the citizens. People start running for their lives, but suddenly Boy falls down. One of the chimeras lifts a horse carriage and throws it toward him. Just then, Galileo arrives and uses his web to stop the carriage. After that, he and the bishops join the fight against the chimeras. Seeing those creatures, the bishops are stunned and ask, what are these things? Talia turns to Galileo and says, it looks like it's starting, and it's even worse than we thought. But Galileo replies, no, it's not worse. This is exactly what Lloyd expected. He pulls out his weapon, ready to fight. The scene flashes back to a few days earlier, when Lloyd asked Saria if he could also take part in the recital. I want to sing in the church, he said. Everyone was shocked. Even Albert questioned him. This is a strange time to make that request. Why would you suddenly think of that now? We're busy planning how to save the Pope. Lloyd shrugged and said, that's your job. What can I even do? I'm just a kid. Those who knew his true strength were stunned by his words. Albert agreed, though, saying, It's better if you stay inside the cathedral. You'll be safe there. Hearing this made Aish happy, and she added, I want to sing with you too. Soon they went off to practice. That's when Grim appeared and asked Lloyd, You're going to sing? What's gotten into you? Lloyd answered, I have a strong feeling that the Pope is actually the enemy we've been looking for. Everyone was shocked. Why would you think that? They asked. Lloyd calmly explained, the answer is simple. Only someone with too much free time and a huge amount of money could build such a lab. And that someone is the Pope. Galileo shook his head, saying, What kind of logic is that? That doesn't add up. But Lloyd stood by his thought. Believe what you want. On the day of the grand festival, I'll be waiting here for things to begin. For now, get some rest. He turned to leave, but Saria grabbed him and insisted they continue preparing for the recital. Lloyd sighed, realizing he was trapped into practicing for something he didn't really care about. Back in the present, Galileo tells his team, Lloyd will handle the one who unleashed these chimeras. Our job is to protect the citizens. Meanwhile, inside the church, Lloyd has Gutain pinned down. Gutain, struggling, sneers. How could a little prince like you be this strong? With a sudden strike of his blade, he breaks free from Lloyd's divine sorcery. G is shocked to see anyone escape from such an attack. Grim mutters, What surprises me more is how Gutain is still alive at all. Grim quickly tells Jeriel, We need to wipe out the chimeras in town as fast as possible. The sooner we're done, the sooner we can return to help Lloyd. Jeriel hesitates. Are you sure? Lloyd is furious and insanely strong. Does he even need our help? Grim shakes his head. That's the problem. His anger makes it dangerous. After the Civil War and seeing what Gutain did to Babylon, he's beyond furious. Gutain has potential too. Anger just like Lloyd's. We need to finish here and hurry back. They rush off. Inside the church, Gutain looks at Lloyd and declares, Your attack proves something to me. I don't care about Jeriel or the king anymore. I know now you're God himself, and once I kill you, I'll finally reach the abyss. Lloyd glares back. If that's what you believe, fine, but you're wrong. Still, if you want to fight, then come. He pulls his hand from his pocket, ready to battle. In another part of town, Crow uses his messenger crows to spread the word, the Pope is the enemy. Hearing this, Hirin realizes the other bishops must be innocent, though some might be allied with him. She grows suspicious of Archbishop Dante, noting the stitches across his face. But just as she's thinking, a chimera attacks her from behind. At the last moment, a bespectacled bishop rushes in and saves her with his power. She thanks him, but he reveals himself to be a bit of a creep, complimenting her looks. Annoyed, Hirin punches him, and he only laughs, promising never to wash his cheek again. Meanwhile, in the cathedral, Anastasia suddenly attacks Silpha, shocking everyone. People whisper, What is she doing? Silpha manages to dodge the strike, and Anastasia admits, I wanted to kill you while everyone was distracted. Silpha reminds her, You can't bring weapons into the cathedral. Anastasia smirks. That's why I'll resign afterward. Silpha realizes her suspicion was right. Anastasia has allied with the enemy. Back with Galileo's team, a demon-like figure appears, casting fire spells. I am Grimoire, the forbidden tome, he declares. The bishops are stunned. That can't be. Grimoire is a legendary demon who once ravaged the Saloum kingdom before being sealed away. How could the seal be broken? Talia and Galileo suddenly recall the truth. Grimoire is actually the real Grim. The false Grimmer sneers, I'm here to take revenge. Skend was the one who sealed me. Elsewhere, Crow and a hot-tempered bishop run while deliberately keeping chimeras chasing them to give the citizens time to escape. The bishop asks, We're doing this, but what's next? Crow answers, I'm worried about the church. The bishop assures him, Don't worry, Melissa is there. She's capable of handling everything. But then Crow notices something strange. His messenger crows are behaving oddly. He climbs onto a building rooftop to investigate, and the bishop, shocked by his sudden leap, scrambles after him. Stop acting so suspicious, the bishop warns. I don't trust you yet. Then before their eyes, a massive dragon appears, an S-rank monster tearing through the city. The bishop trembles. Crow, what is that? What do we do? But when he looks to the side, Crow is gone, already charging toward the dragon. The bishop stares in disbelief. He's actually going to fight it. A monster like that. Inspired, he grips his weapon tightly. I understand now. I'll fight too. I'll prove myself as a true bishop. The scene shifts to a group of bishops, all looking nearly identical, who suddenly stop in shock. Right before their eyes, Tao is locked in a fierce battle with a terrifyingly strong chimera. The monster slams Tao to the ground with brutal force and pins her down. Sitting on top of her, it sneers, "How was that? My Rakugan crushed you in a single hit." We learn that this chimera's name is Chakra, an A-rank beast. Watching its devastating power, the bishops are stunned. They call out asking if Tao is all right, but Chakra interrupts. She won't answer. My Rakugan always kills in one blow. By the way, why do you two have the same face? It's irritating. Maybe I'll just kill both of you at once. The bishops roll in shock. But suddenly Tao moves. She isn't dead after all. She pushes herself to her feet, leaving Chakra stunned. How are you still alive? You should have been crushed. Your head should have split open when you hit the ground. That's when Chakra realizes one of its arms is broken. Tao smirks, explaining, right before I hit the ground, I grabbed your arm. I used it as a cushion to protect myself. The bishops are floored by her resourcefulness. Chakra growls in frustration. I thought you'd be dead, your whole life flashing before your eyes. Tao calmly replies, it did flash before me, and that's when I remembered something. Your technique, Rakan. The falling flower fish. It's a phantom-style martial art that disappeared in a single generation. That means you're Chakra, the inventor of the Rakan form, and your soul is inside this body. Hearing this, Chakra's eyes flare with rage. Tao had guessed correctly. After taking over this body, my Rakan became perfect. These 6 eyes gave me human reflexes, and with 6 arms, my grappling technique has reached a new level. I've become even more powerful. Tao stares at her calmly and asks, but why? Why do you want to become so powerful? She explains, I used to train until tears rolled down my face, throwing punches over and over. Do you think I did it for someone else? No, I did it because I wanted to be popular. But look at you. You've given up your humanity for power. I'll never lose to someone like you. With that, Tao loosens her hair, preparing to unleash a special technique. Seeing her stance, Chakra realizes instantly what's coming. The 100-flower fish. Instead of fear, Chakra laughs bitterly. I should thank the gods. I get to face this technique again. Her past begins to unfold. She wasn't always a monster. She was once a boy who trained endlessly. After being defeated by a warrior, he was told, if you fail 100 times, try 1,000,000 more. Never let failure discourage you. But Chakra thought those words were nonsense. He gave up on being human and chose to become a chimera instead. Back in the fight, Tao powers up, her aura pressing down on everyone nearby. She charges forward, moving faster than the eye can follow, even faster than the cameraman. Chakra braces herself, thinking she can counter. But her vision suddenly clouds. Memories come flooding back, of begging others to learn her technique so it wouldn't die with her, of despair when no one cared, of throwing herself from a cliff in defeat. Just before dying, Gutan appeared, offering her a new body. The flashbacks overwhelm her, and in that moment, Tao's strike lands. Chakra's face is shattered, broken into pieces. The bishops gasp in disbelief. They'd seen how Chakra kept grappling Tao, attacking again and again, but Tao never gave in. Even with Chakra's hands crushing her, Tao endured and claimed victory. The bishops are moved, seeing her sheer dedication. Barely clinging to life, Chakra mutters, how was my Rakugan? The bishops prepare to finish her with purification magic, but Tao stops them. Kneeling beside Chakra, she says softly, I saw your technique. You still have me in your grip. You won. Your grappling was incredible. You never gave up. You're a true human being. And honestly, pretty handsome too. Hearing this recognition, Chakra breaks down in tears. His grip loosens and his spirit begins to fade. All I ever wanted, he whispers, was for someone to acknowledge my achievement. And now, finally, his soul vanishes. Finally at peace. The scene shifts back to Grimoire, unleashing his power, shocking everyone. Galileo orders the bishops to run to the church and protect it. He then tells Talia, "Help me. I'll take the opening, and you hold him with your webs." Grimoire scoffs, "Do you think you can stop me? I am the great Grimoire." Talia snaps back, "Shut up. You're just a fake." But Galileo hesitates. "What if he isn't fake? What if our Grim isn't who we think he is?" Talia protests, but they both recall how their Grim always brought them delicious food, always acted cute. "Our Grim is adorable," they say. "So does that mean this one is the real Grimoire?" Grimoire smirks. "Yes, I am the true Grimoire." He's about to unleash his full power when suddenly a small boy appears, kicking Grimoire's head clean off. The soul bursts out of the body and stares at the boy in shock. "Who are you? Could it be?" The spirit blushes strangely, unable to finish. The boy looks strikingly like Lloyd, horns and all. Without hesitation, he unleashes terrifying power, wiping out all the chimeras in one blow, along with Grimoire's fake body. Handing the soul to Galileo, he says coldly, "There's no demon here. Purify it and close all the holes around town." With that, he flies away. Before leaving, the soul tells Talia, "I was once a sorcerer who studied ancient magic. I admired Grimoire." Talia purifies him, and then she and Galileo look up at the boy. "Could he be?" Galileo nods. "It's possible." The scene closes on the mysterious figure soaring through the sky, and by now it's clear who this boy really is. The episode begins with Lloyd and Gutane still locked in an intense fight. Both of them are giving each other a real challenge. As they battle, they rise higher and higher until they're fighting above the clouds. After a while, Gutane pulls back a little and says to Lloyd, "You're really incredible. Looks like I haven't even seen your full potential yet." Lloyd replies, "I feel the same way. Show me your full strength too." Gutane smirks and says, "I've got a lot of advantages against you because I have a wide variety of options." With that, he summons a whole arsenal of weapons, ready to fight Lloyd. Seeing this, Lloyd gets even more excited. In another scene back in the city, a wild attack is underway. A powerful boar is wreaking havoc, the same one the bishops had been fighting earlier under Babylon's guard. One bishop strikes with all his power, trying to cut off the boar's head, but it just won't come off. Soon, another bishop in Babylon arrive to join in, and together they finally manage to sever the head. But even then, they're terrified because they know this creature keeps regenerating. Sure enough, the boar revives again, stronger than before. They realize the truth. This boar is immortal. No matter if you crush its head or destroy its heart, it will always regenerate, each time coming back even more powerful. Its name is Megameat, and it's ranked triple S. Megameat then speaks, saying even his master doesn't truly know what he is. Babylon is stunned, wondering if Gutane wasn't the one who created this chimera after all. Before he can finish his thoughts, Megameat smashes him with a heavy punch, sending him crashing through houses and leaving him badly injured. As Megameat moves in to finish him off, the bishops rush to help, but it's not enough. Babylon manages to hold the boar back and asks, "Before you kill me, tell me, why do you hate humans so much?" The boar answers, "Do you really want to hear my story?" The bishops step in, saying, "Yes, we're bishops. It's our duty to guide the lost." Megameat replies, "Fine then, let's see how you guide me." He begins telling his past. Years ago, an alchemist named Ouroboros created him through countless experiments. Ouroboros discovered that no matter how many times you cut and ate from Megameat, his flesh would regenerate infinitely. That meant endless free pork. So Ouroboros kept cutting him again and again. Though Megameat suffered terribly, Ouroboros praised him, saying he would save the world from hunger. Feeling useful, Megameat was happy at first. But over time, his meat started tasting bitter. Ouroboros declared it inedible, and Megameat, enraged, burned down his master's house before leaving. He went from human to human, offering his flesh, but nobody liked the taste. Rejected everywhere, he fell into despair. "I was made to be eaten," he thought, "but now I'm so worthless, even flies won't land on me." It was then that he met his true master, Gutan tasted his meat and praised it, saying it was delicious. He told Megameat, "Your strength isn't meant for feeding humans. It's a weapon. Use it against those who treated you like livestock. Will you really let those arrogant people go unpunished?" Falling for Gutain's words, Megameat turned down a dark path. Hearing this, even the bishops begin to feel conflicted. Megameat declares, "I'll take revenge on everyone who said I wasn't tasty." Babylon then speaks, "My life was just like yours. Back then, I thought I'd die the very next year. I wandered in the forest looking for food, with no money to buy anything. I loved cooking, but I had no ingredients. If I had met you back then, I would have embraced you." These words touch Megameat, but he tries to resist, snapping back, "Don't be a fool. You're only saying that because you don't know how bad I taste." Babylon grabs his hand and says firmly, "I promise you, I'll turn you into the most delicious dish in the world, one that everyone will love." For the first time, Megameat agrees. They all head to a restaurant to begin cooking. The bishops watch nervously. A strange purple aura flows from the meat, making them uneasy. They know whatever is cooked, they'll be the ones who have to taste it first. Megameat himself thinks, "He has no idea my meat is impossible to cook. No matter what, it'll be terrible." The meat is so tough that Babylon takes a different approach. Instead of cutting, he gently strokes it, and to everyone's shock, it softens. Overjoyed, the meat leaps by itself and mixes with the ingredients, ready to be cooked. Everyone is stunned. Babylon begins frying it, while Megameat remembers that in the past, whenever chefs tried frying him, the stench was unbearable. He's convinced the same thing will happen again. But when Babylon cooks it, the dish turns out perfectly fresh, with no bad smell at all. Everyone is stunned again. The bishops prepare to taste it, nervous but unable to resist. It looks delicious, but they fear it might ruin their stomachs. Megameat smirks and says, "If you can eat it without throwing up, I'll stop taking revenge on humans." The bishops decide to try. At first they think they'll just swallow it down quickly, but Babylon tells them, "Don't be afraid, chew slowly and enjoy it." They follow his advice. As they chew, their fear vanishes. The taste is unbelievably good. So good, in fact, that it brings back memories of their childhood, when they used to enjoy food without worry. Amazed, they declare, "This is delicious." Megameat is left in disbelief. "That's impossible. You're lying." But they shake their heads. "No, it's true. It really is delicious." Hearing this, Megameat is shocked once again. He turns to Babylon and asks, "What did you just do?" Babylon calmly replies, "Nothing special. When I was preparing your meat, I used divine sorcery to heal it." The bishops are stunned, praising his divine sorcery as remarkable. But Babylon shakes his head. "It's not that great. I only used a faint light." Megameat then realizes the truth. "You're a good person. You've dedicated your entire existence to others. But because you lived in sadness, your taste grew worse and worse. With just a touch of divine sorcery, you became delicious. That shows you're kind and gentle. You can live however you want, but remember this, humans love you." As the food's aroma spreads, people from all around catch the scent. Babylon invites them in, and everyone who tastes the meat loves it. Seeing this, Megameat feels genuine happiness for the first time. After the feast, when everyone leaves, one of the bishops begins to show a darker side. "With this meat, we can end world hunger," he says, eyeing Megameat. "Let me take responsibility for this pig." But suddenly, Megameat steps forward. He looks at Babylon and says, "I want you to purify me, end my existence." Shocked, the bishops protest. Babylon explains, "You regenerate because of the hatred inside you. If I purify you, you'll just become a normal pig. You won't regenerate anymore." Megameat nods. "I know. I'll lose my infinite strength and I'll only be eaten once. But that's exactly what I want. I want people to eat me when I taste my best. That's why, Babylon, I want you to cook me." Babylon hesitates but finally agrees. As he begins the purification, Megameat's thoughts drift back to his master, Gutan, and to Ouroboros, the one who created him. "Forgive me," he whispers. "I only want to live for the sake of others. Forgive me for failing to end the world's hunger. At least, let me become the meal of the one person who truly understood me, Babylon." The darkness inside him fades away, and Megameat transforms into a normal pig. He prepares to throw himself into the fire to be cooked, but at the last moment, Babylon, overwhelmed with emotion, stops him. "No!" he cries. "I can't eat you. You'll stay with me." The scene then shifts. Anastasia is battling Silpha. Silpha has no sword. She's only fighting with a candlestick, yet she manages to hold her own against Anastasia, who's using divine sorcery. Impressed, Anastasia admits, "You're amazing." Silpha asks cautiously, "Tell me something. Are you the mysterious poster we've been searching for?" Anastasia shakes her head. "No, that's my master. He's far beyond me." Silpha replies, "Even as a bishop, your swordsmanship is incredible. And the way you speak of your master, it makes me curious." Anastasia smiles faintly. "I could say the same about you. You became an A-rank adventurer, and then you left the guild. Why choose to be a maid?" Blushing, Silpha confesses, "Because I found someone." Of course she's talking about Lloyd. Anastasia's eyes sharpen. "Then neither of us can lose. We both serve our masters." She unleashes an even more powerful divine sorcery, summoning a wave of shadows. Silpha struggles to block them all. Several attacks land, tearing parts of her clothes, as always seems to happen in her battles. But then she clutches a necklace she carries. Channeling its power, she transforms, becoming much stronger. She even forges a sword of divine sorcery from it. Anastasia, shocked, is badly wounded by Silpha's counterattack. She can't move, and the two of them collapse back at the church. Silpha is exhausted from using divine sorcery, barely able to stand. Anastasia, stunned, whispers, "Why didn't you kill me? I never knew you could wield divine sorcery." Silpha answers, "It's a gift from my master." The story flashes back. Lloyd had once handed her a glass-like orb. "With this, you'll be able to use divine sorcery," he said. Silpha hesitated. "I don't know if I'll be able to use it well." Lloyd reassured her. "Even without it, you'll be fine. But if the time comes, use it." As he turned to leave, Silpha stopped him, softly saying, "Thank you." Back in the present, Silpha smiles weakly at Anastasia. "My master is wise, amazing, and cute. Whenever I scold him, he makes the funniest faces. I know he keeps secrets from me, but I'll wait for the day he shares them." She tries to stand but can't, her body too drained. Anastasia, listening, begins to cry. "I could never scold my master. I think he wants someone to stop him, but my voice can't reach him. His heart shut down long ago. All I can do is serve him." Silpha looks at her kindly. "I'm just a maid. It's not my place to judge. But I hope your master hears someone's voice. I hope before this battle ends, someone's words reach him." Meanwhile, we see Saria and Isha riding Shiro, heading straight toward the scene. In the last episode's ending, we saw Ish and Saria heading toward the church. They climbed up to the roof where a piano was sitting. As they landed there, Saria thanked Shiro for bringing them. But instead of saying his name right, she mistakenly called him Sonaro, since she's not very good at remembering names. Looking out, they noticed the city was in ruins. Saria quickly pulled the cover off the piano, ready to protect it. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the dragon that Crow had been sent to fight. Crow was in terrible shape, bleeding heavily, while one of the bishops was desperately trying to keep him alive. The bishop warned him not to push himself by using his power again. But just then, the dragon was about to crush a small child. The bishop rushed forward to save the kid, and Crow forced himself to stand. Even though blood poured from his mouth from overusing his speech power, he used what little strength he had left to order the dragon to stop. To everyone's surprise, the dragon froze in place. This gave the bishop time to get the child to safety, but the bishop realized Crow's condition had worsened drastically. Tears welled up in his eyes as he saw Crow unable to speak, slipping further away. On the other side, we saw Rain fighting alone. Dante, another bishop, was off to the side, smoking. Frustrated, Rain asked him why he wouldn't help her. Dante ignored her completely, leaving Rain to wonder if he had sided with the enemy. Just as she was doubting him, another bishop, half paralyzed from poison, told her he wished he could help, but the effect of her love had frozen him in place. Annoyed, Rain snapped that it wasn't love but poison. She dragged him with her while Dante suddenly asked if she knew who was truly behind all these attacks. Shocked, Rain hesitated, wondering whether to reveal the truth. After a pause, she admitted she knew. Just as she was about to say the name, the scene cut away. We were taken up above the clouds, where Lloyd was battling Guton. With a single strike, Guton shattered Lloyd's barrier. Lloyd calmly analyzed his opponent's magic, realizing Guton's purification-type sorcery could erase anything by labeling it as evil and purifying it. Even Lloyd's fireballs were erased this way. Excited, Lloyd figured out Guton's weaknesses. His symbols took a few seconds to change. He couldn't create ones that carried natural sorcery effects, and he seemed limited to only 3 types at once. Lloyd marveled at how Gutan had altered God's own mana signatures, calling it incredible. Back in the city, the bishop who had rescued the child urged him to find his mother while he stayed behind. The boy agreed, leaving the bishop torn between his duty to protect Crow and the danger approaching. The dragon advanced toward Crow, and the bishop angrily confronted it, but the beast didn't stop. As it lunged for Crow, the bishop leapt in and shielded him, taking the brunt of the attack. With his last strength, the bishop reminded Crow that he had saved so many people, even while bleeding. Crow had always looked happy doing so, proud to use his power to protect others. Overcome with emotion, the bishop broke into tears. The dragon, mocking them, laughed menacingly, enraging the bishop. He drew his weapon and swore the dragon wouldn't get away with it. But before he could strike, the dragon blasted him, killing him instantly. Even as he lay dying, the bishop admitted that though he hadn't known Crow long, he felt like they were best brothers. When the dragon tried to finish Crow off, the bishop defiantly stood in its way, demanding it fight him instead. Just before the fatal strike landed, Silpha and Tao arrived, slashing at the dragon's fingers and saving Crow. Tao reassured the others that Crow was still alive. She could feel it. She ordered the twin bald bishops to heal him. Silpha apologized to Tao, knowing she was exhausted yet still forced to fight. Tao brushed it off, pointing out there were no civilians left in the area thanks to Crow. She admired how incredible he was for evacuating everyone. Silpha agreed, but admitted that meant their enemy was powerful enough to bring even Crow down. That thought worried them both. The dragon suddenly charged up a devastating beam attack. Before it could fire, Tao and Silpha struck its jaws, forcing the beam to misfire into the distance. Shaken, they realized if that attack had hit, they'd both be dead. Tao's arm was injured in the process, but she told Silpha to stay focused. If they didn't finish this fight, Crow's sacrifice would mean nothing. Meanwhile, the bishops trying to heal Crow realized he had already died. Fear crept in as they understood the dragon might be unstoppable. At that moment, the dragon began recalling its own past. Hatching from an egg, its fate sealed from birth. It had been raised as nothing more than a servant, a slave, with its master always riding on its back. It lived its life obediently, treated like a pet dog. And the master behind it all was none other than Geese's Sorman. The dragon says that his master had learned the most powerful spell, teleportation. He was proud, but also terrified of his master. No one could stop his master. Then we see Geese's army telling the dragon that they no longer need him. Right after that, Geese's army tears the dragon apart. They mutilate him, piece by piece. Next we see Gutan arriving with Anastasia, carrying anesthesia. Gutan says he doesn't know how long the land has been under Geese's rule. Anastasia replies that Geese's army really is a monster. Gutan agrees, saying the army looks like demon lords themselves. The dragon watches Gutan and wonders who he is and why he's in Geese's territory. Gutan asks Anastasia what she thinks would happen if he attacked a demon lord with his Lama Maxima. Anastasia guesses it would do massive damage. Gutan asks whether he could cleanse a demon lord's heart. Then he answers himself, "No, you can't purify anyone's heart. Monsters' hearts can't be fixed. They're like stone. They abandon even their own comrades." Hearing that, the dragon realizes Gutan will become his next master. And that's exactly what happens. Gutan takes the dragon with him and starts repairing its body. He fits parts from different chimeras bodies onto it, telling the dragon to use them however it wants. He says he wants the dragon to use the new body to discover its true nature. The dragon is glad and decides to follow Gutan. It says more than half of its body has been replaced. Gutan seems amazing. He talks about the dragon's true nature and offers it freedom. Gutan tells the dragon that if it has nowhere else to go, it can stay with him. He says he's preparing a grand event and that after that he has no plans because he's lost. Then he leaves. The dragon hopes Gutan finds his own way and says that it finally understands who it really is. Back in the present, we see the dragon sprout 2 arms and use them to attack Tao and Silpha. The attack hits Tao, knocking her out. The dragon seizes the moment and is about to finish Tao off, but Silpha intervenes. She throws Tao behind her, using only her waist, and faces the dragon alone. She struggles to hold it back, and the dragon easily overpowers her. Silpha's sword even breaks. The dragon laughs, enjoying the fight. Tao regains consciousness and freezes when she sees Silpha's condition. Meanwhile, Anastasia and the bishops have stopped trying to heal Crow because he's already dead. They tell the other bishops, the bats, that they're hurt and need healing. But Bat refuses. He insists, save Crow. Crow is the real hero. Watching the terrifying scene, the dragon grows ecstatic and prepares a massive attack. We learn the dragon intends to strike the place where all the city's citizens have been safely sheltered. Tao and the bats rush to stop it, but fail. The dragon slams them away and continues its assault. Silpha is barely able to move. Her body won't respond. The attack is about to hit the shelter. Bat panics and yells that he doesn't care who shows up, God or dragon, someone must stop this beast. Just as the dragon is about to unleash its attack on the shelter, a boy who looks like Lloyd appears and punches, stopping the blow. The dragon is flung far away, and the shelter's people are saved. Everyone is stunned. How did that happen? Gariel then arrives and praises the two bishops for their effort. He says he will heal Crow. The boy pleads for any way to save Crow. Crow as a member of their team. The boy grows furious and confronts the dragon, asking what it was doing. Even the dragon seems taken aback. People ask the boy who he is, but he refuses to give his real name. He says he's just a wandering adventurer, Grim Taro. Many viewers had already guessed in the last episode that it was Grim. Grim becomes nervous in this form. He remembers Gariel telling him to stay human, because if he took his demon form, people would attack him as if he were the enemy. So he came in human shape, and now he's embarrassed. Seizing the moment, the dragon attacks Grim, but Grim is powerful. The blow doesn't even faze him. He braces with his legs and stops the dragon's assault. Everyone is shocked. Grim tells them not to worry, he's on their side and Crow will recover. Gariel will save him. Then Grim asks Tao if there are any survivors left in the city, any citizens. Tao answers no. Hearing that, Grim unleashes a devastating attack on the dragon and keeps hitting it until it's terribly wounded. The dragon rolls and staggers. Grim climbs onto its neck and says he heard it laughing, that it's a netherworld dragon. How did it come into the human world? It looks like its master abandoned it. Grim tells the dragon that he won't show it mercy in the netherworld, only the strong survive. And the dragon tried to wreak havoc in his territory. He calls the dragon a dog whose leash came off and bit people, and says he feels like killing it. Still, he gives it one chance, run home and disappear. The dragon refuses to flee. It charges Grim and comes close, ready to fire its beam. The dragon reflects that the demon in front of it is kind. Even after everything that happened, the demon offers it a chance to live like a dragon. But the dragon answers that it cannot run away. It will live and die like a dragon. Grim now braces himself, ready to block the incoming attack. We see him channeling a technique similar to Kit Kat. No, more like that 7 Gojo style, and unleashing his devastating power straight at the dragon. Grim's strike turns out to be overwhelmingly strong. The dragon's attack doesn't even scratch him. Instead, Grim's blow completely overpowers it, erasing not just the dragon's attack, but the dragon itself. As the dragon fades, it starts to reflect. He thinks about all the burdens he and his comrades carried. But after fighting this final battle, they manage to let go of all their regrets. A flashback takes us to the moment when Gutan had given him Luma Maxima. That gift would allow the dragon to turn his body into ashes and purify himself. Gutan told him, use this only when you're on the verge of defeat, and don't ever think that by doing so, you've betrayed me. Don't worry, I'm selfish too. I've only been using you. I never even considered you comrades. Remembering those words, the dragon admits, I'm not entirely sure, but after meeting you, I was able to live and die like a true dragon. Gutan, I won't use your spare. I won't purify myself. Instead, I'll see you straight in hell. With that, the dragon disappears. All of its remaining energy flows into Grim, who consumes it, becoming even more powerful than before. He wonders to himself, maybe I could even take down a demon lord. But almost immediately he shakes his head. No, I'm still not strong enough. I can't beat a demon lord yet. That means I'm still nowhere near Lloyd's level. Just then Gariel shows up. He looks at Grim and asks, are you ready? Grim nods and answers, yeah, by the way, how's Crow? Gariel reassures him, don't worry, Crow's life has been saved. Relieved, Grim says, good, the ones below can manage on their own. Now it's our turn. Let's head up and help Lloyd in this final battle. The scene shifts back to the skies above the clouds. where Gutan and Lloyd still haven't even begun their fight. In the last episode, we saw Grim step in and defeat the massive dragon, saving everyone. His attack was so powerful that it shot all the way up into the clouds, catching both Gutan and Lloyd's attention. Lloyd realized immediately that it was Grim's doing and was pretty impressed. Gutan, on the other hand, understood that all his comrades had been wiped out. Lloyd then asked him if he wanted to know what was happening down below, and Gutan admitted that, judging by the scene, it looked like all of his allies had been killed. Furious, Gutan suddenly released a number of eggs, seemingly out of nowhere, sending them crashing down toward the people on the ground. The eggs scattered in every direction, and Gutan revealed to Lloyd that he had sent more chimeras into the land, each one with S-rank strength. Soon enough, the eggs hatched, unleashing terrifying chimeras that shocked everyone. Gutan declared that he alone was enough to bring down the entire country. This angered Lloyd, but he remained calm and explained that when Gutan released the eggs, he was able to sense their mana. Lloyd prepared to use teleportation magic to wipe them out instantly, but before he could focus, Gutan attacked, making it clear he wasn't going to let Lloyd concentrate. He had figured out that teleportation required focus, and his goal was to break it. Meanwhile, one of the chimeras managed to overpower Galilea, breaking through his trap and freeing the others that were buried underground. Terrified, Galilea told Talia to escape, warning her that this chimera was on another level entirely. Elsewhere, chaos spread. At the church, another chimera appeared. People panicked, trying to flee. Katerina tried to stop them, telling them not to go outside because more chimeras waited there. But they shouted back that if they stayed inside, the creature would kill them too. The chimera lunged at Katerina, nearly killing her, when someone suddenly jumped in to block the attack. They told her they would handle it and urged her to leave. But Katerina protested, saying they were already exhausted and wouldn't be able to hold it back. People began to despair, asking who could possibly save them now, and wondering where God was. Gutan himself answered. He said there was a time when even he believed God existed. Then he turned to Lloyd and asked if he considered himself worthy of being called a god. Enraged, Lloyd shouted back that he'd told him many times before he was no god. Back in the city, Lloyd's allies saw the new wave of chimeras and grew anxious. They'd already fought a brutal battle, and now another was forced on them. Grim and Jerio, who had been on their way to help Lloyd, also stopped in their tracks when they saw the new chimeras appear. Anastasia, meanwhile, found herself face to face with one. In tears, she pressed her weapon against her throat, apologizing to Gutan, saying she was useless. Gutan, speaking to Lloyd again, explained that his real goal wasn't to destroy the entire world, but only this country. He wanted to wipe out its religion, the faith that convinced people to believe in a god he was certain didn't exist. He apologized sarcastically, but insisted that destruction was necessary. Suddenly, Surya began to play the piano, and Isher's voice rose in song. Their melody filled the land with beauty and peace, reaching every corner of the country. Isher's singing had a divine effect. It could heal, calm fear, and bring hope. Even Crow recovered and took flight after hearing it. Lloyd recognized it, saying only Isher could use this divine magic, called boundless innocence. Unlike offensive magic, its true power was amplification. It removed fear, anxiety, and hesitation. Even the chimeras froze momentarily, stunned by the song. Gutan himself struck, trapped in memories of his past. Lloyd seized the opportunity, declaring that while Isher's voice could hold everyone else still, it had no effect on him. He teleported in an instant, slicing off the heads of every chimera at once. Lloyd then turned to Gutan and said he didn't care why he thought of him as a god or what had happened in his past. What mattered to him was the magic Gutan wielded. If he could capture him alive, he'd have all the time he needed to study it. With that, Lloyd dropped the severed chimera heads at Gutan's feet and challenged him to a final battle. Meanwhile, at another location, Bishop Dante told Ren that the situation had changed and he needed to leave. His instincts told him the song was the source of the disturbance. He explained that the chimera he had been fighting vanished the moment the music began, and he was certain he now knew who was behind all this. Suddenly, the chimera he thought was gone reappeared and lunged at him. Ren panicked and rushed to save him, but Dante, without even moving, obliterated it into pieces with his power. He told Ren to stay behind while he went to where Isher was singing. Confused, Ren noticed that ever since Dante discovered the Pope was behind the chimeras, his fighting style had become more ferocious, almost frightening. She admitted she couldn't keep up or even help anymore, and it left her feeling useless. Dante reassured her, reminding her how much she had done for the people of the town, and told her she shouldn't feel this way. Then he left. As he walked away, he thought back to the day Gutan became pope. He had been there that day, and now regretted not realizing the truth sooner. He swore he would stop him. Back with Gutain, he began to open up about his past to Lloyd. He explained that he had once been happy, living with his wife and young son. In a flashback, we see his son begging him to sing. Gutan wasn't a great singer, but he sang anyway because it made his family smile. Even if his voice was rough, his wife and son loved it. That joy soon spread, and others began to enjoy his singing as well. So much so that even the angel Jeriel granted him permission to use divine sorcery. Gutan continued, saying that ever since he became a bishop, he was constantly tested over and over again. In the past, whenever other bishops challenged him, Gutan easily defeated them. One of the men he beat may have been Dante himself, and from that point on, Dante began calling him boss. Gutan accepted it, saying Dante was his best friend, like a brother to him. Later, Gutan even fought alongside the king. The two of them agreed that one would become king and the other pope, and together they would make the country stronger. But one day when Gutan returned home, he found a little girl sitting outside his house starving. He realized she had come from the slums, so he invited her inside to give her food prepared by his wife. That girl was Anastasia. But when Anastasia spoke, she said her father told her to wait outside and keep watch. As soon as Gutan stepped inside, he saw a nightmare. His wife and son were dead. Anastasia's father had killed them in his hunger and was eating whatever food he could find. Rage consumed Gutan. He cursed God, asking why his family hadn't been saved, why he had served a God who didn't protect them. In despair, Gutan questioned himself. Had he been serving God only in hopes of a reward? Forcing himself to act, he tried to purify Anastasia's father. But to his shock, nothing happened. The man just kept shoving food into his mouth. Gutan used purification again and again, yet there was no effect. His anger turned into fear. In the end, the man didn't stop eating. He simply died of hunger right there. Gutan then reasoned that the man hadn't been purified because deep down, he wanted to live. He wanted food. That was why he killed Gutain's family. To Gutan, it was a cruel joke. If someone like that couldn't be purified, did that mean God's definition of evil was meaningless? Did that mean only those with pure hearts were considered monsters? Looking back, Gutan admitted he once told people to have faith in God, that he was a bishop, a symbol of faith. People even started calling him a saint, but every time he heard his own words, they made him sick inside. His darkness had grown too deep to erase. When he eventually became pope, he realized during his trials that his darkness wasn't evil. It was simply part of him. From then on, he asked God if it wasn't too much to let him use that darkness freely. As Gutan kept telling his story, Lloyd got visibly bored. He interrupted, saying, "Enough! Why are you telling me all this? Your story's depressing, and I'm a seventh prince. What am I supposed to do with it?" Gutain responded that of course Lloyd, as a god, wouldn't care about his story, but he insisted that Lloyd had to hear it, because it explained how he became who he was. Lloyd sighed and said, "Fine, I've heard your story. Now let's fight." But Gutan went right back into his memories, and Lloyd lost his patience. He struck him on the head, yelling, "Enough already! I don't want to hear it!" Elsewhere, the others were listening to Aisha's song and feeling joy, praising her voice. Babylon, on the other hand, was leaving. He understood from the rhythm of her singing that she was pushing herself to the limit, and if she stopped, everyone would die. That's why soldiers were guarding the place where Aisha was singing. Everyone believed that once her song ended, so would the fight. Back in the battle, Lloyd said to Gutan, "Aisha's song is incredible, isn't it? And my sister's playing the piano beautifully too. But you know, Gutan, I want to show you something else." Gutan asked what he meant, but before he could finish, Lloyd sliced off his hand. Lloyd warned him that he would attack in sync with the music, so he'd better pay close attention. Gutan tried to brace himself, but he couldn't focus. Lloyd's next strike landed clean. This time, he had teleported his attack with extreme speed. His next move was a water strike so fast that the water itself froze, putting Gutan in real trouble. Desperate, Gutan used the power of civil war to form a shield. It blocked part of the attack, but not all of it. He tried to retreat, but Lloyd followed with another deadly strike. Seeing Gutain unleash spiral threads, Lloyd grew excited. declaring he truly wanted to capture him alive. Gutan, however, was terrified. Lloyd's attacks came faster and stronger, and Aisha's song kept breaking his concentration. Distracted once more, he was struck by Lloyd's seven gods attack head-on, even with his threads. Shaken, Gutan gasped, asking how Lloyd had managed it. Lloyd told him he could never understand the true depths of magic. Watching in fear, Gutan realized how overwhelming Lloyd's power was. Then Lloyd reminded him, "You told Babylon that hitting your heart wouldn't matter, that there was nothing there. Let's test that out and see if you were lying." With that, Lloyd unleashed a devastating strike straight at Gutan.